The opinions you're about to hear on this show are strictly those of the panel.
The following program is rated TV MA-LSV. It contains strong language, sexual situations, and violence. It is intended only for mature audiences.
Hello. Welcome to the Friday Night Shit Show. Thank you for joining me, Ruben. How are you this evening?
I'm okay. I'm good. I'm fine. I can't be negative. I be positive.
Oh, well, that's good. Somebody's got to be positive. Well, hello, Chris. Thank you for joining us this evening.
Thanks for the invite, Janet.
Well, make sure that you guys through the night share your your ex profile or whatever in the chat and stuff like that, so that we can make sure that you guys get some more followers. Oh, that's right. He's got it under his name. Okay, that's good. Just so that we can.
I came prepared. Chris, getting up. Janet, getting up late. No, I'm fine.
Well, I'm glad you guys have joined me. I haven't heard from Bruce, so hopefully he's okay.
Oh my.
I don't know what happened, but I sent him a text and he hasn't responded. So maybe he slept in, maybe he had a bad day at work or whatever. But I haven't heard anything. So
everything's hit the shitter.
What are you doing, Chris? Everything was great.
Hang on.
And now it's all noisy. Oh, all right. Now I see. Okay, he's fixing it. But yeah, we had a really, really busy week this week. I think we have every week since Trump's been president, but we definitely have had a really busy week this week. So there's a few little things I wanted to share to get started. I thought was interesting stuff that I found. So here we go. Let's see. Let's do these. I think this is adorable, and I wanted to share it because I couldn't help myself. So hopefully I don't get anybody mad at me, but I think it's adorable and it's cute, and it's definitely.
I'm already mad already. I'm furious right now.
It's not real, as you can tell, because Donald Trump is not a baby, but it's so cute.
AI. Oh shit!
It's adorable. So I want to watch this. Here we go.
I love you. Trees, moose, that little Sarah thing. You're adorable. But let's face it, you're basically the attic of America. Quiet, cold, and full of stuff nobody remembers until Christmas. So let's fix that. Let's make you the 51st state.
Oh.
Beautiful, powerful, slightly colder Florida. You guys have health care that's free, but you wait 11 years for a dentist. That's not health care. That's tooth prison. We'll get you real options. Fast, American style. Dentist with muscles. Your money has animals on it. Moose, bears, birds. I thought it was a zoo brochure. Join us and we'll give you some good old-fashioned green cash. Dead presidents, very classy. And your prime minister. He's like if a drama teacher ran a Whole Foods. Nice hair, no power. Down here, we throw paper touchdowns during hurricanes. Big energy. You've already got our TV, our food, our slang. You say sorry like we say excuse me in Walmart brawls. So let's just do it. Sign the paperwork, swap out the flag, and boom, Canada becomes America. We'll even let you keep Tim Hortons.
I thought that was so adorable. Oh, Plus, I hate to say it,
Women.
but I've got cramps, so
Women,
can't help
I
myself.
tell you. Just kidding.
Oh, they're so I can't help it. Sorry, guys, but
I think you're all on the same clock. It's like master reset.
But yeah, and here's another thing I thought was interesting before we move into the what is all that noise?
NSA, FBI, can you hear me?
I thought you were ripping one off or something. I didn't know what was going on.
Yeah, I muted my mic.
I want to play. What is all that?
I don't know. I muted my mic and it kept doing it.
So I don't know what it is.
Mic issue.
Mute it. Mute yourself.
It's not doing it now.
You sound like your whole mic sounds messed up.
Yeah, it's coming from your mic, Janet.
Coming from me?
Yep. It's like a feedback loop. Yeah, I think it's probably coming from you.
I'm gonna.
Yeah, I think you have a feedback loop because it's repeating what you're saying with like a computer voice.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, I did it just a little bit when you talked too.
No, but Janet's mic's mute. Janet's mic's down.
Yeah, it's echoing back when you're talking too. Janet, your mic's dead. I can't hear you, Janet.
Welcome to the shit show.
See, my mic was off, so it's not me. So I think you're gonna have to leave and come right back, Chris. Can you do that? See, I don't hear it now. Do you hear it?
I don't hear anything.
Yeah. Hopefully he'll come right back. But I just wanted to share this, hopefully, because all he has to do is leave and come right back in and into the room, and I think it'll fix it. But I wanted to share this because I thought it was pretty funny. Well, it's not funny, but it's important. But it didn't have anything to do with the stuff that I pulled up for today. It's about the Diddy stuff. So I thought I'd share this real quick. It says Diddy's former bodyguard, Big Homie, has come forward with some explosive claims saying Diddy kept tapes for blackmail, comparing them to how pedophiles keep photos and videos as trophies.
Oh, no.
Yeah. He alleges Homeland Security agents weren't told they were raiding Diddy's home until the last moment due to concerns that Diddy may have been protected by powerful figures. According to Big Homie, Diddy, like Jeffrey Epstein, used footage to control and manipulate people in the music industry through blackmail. He also claims Diddy wasn't at the top. He was just the middleman with even more powerful individuals above him.
Oh, dear.
So here we go. Let's watch.
I mean, there's a lot of speculation about what he may have kept on tape. And I think you've talked about the fact a lot of these guys like to keep trophies, memorabilia, you know, sort of
absolutely
souvenirs. I mean, is that part of his operandi for the freak offs and everything?
Yeah, so what I'll say is throughout my career path, we may end up with a pedophile's phone. And in that phone, you'll see a list of trophies. And when it was announced that he had CCTV film cameras in the house, and when the Homeland Security did the initial raid, they didn't inform the raiding officers whose home they were raiding because they had information that he might have been protected. And, you know, part of Epstein's thing was to get people in precarious situations, and then you have this footage that you can use against them to be able to have your way with champions of industry and able to control policy. He does the same thing. So, you know, if you want to be able to seal a big deal and there's a guy you know likes to party, it's easy to set that up. You know, you send a guy a screenshot like, yeah, man, you had such a good time with those 2 underage girls yesterday, man. You remember this video right here? That person is going to have some incentive to help you out in what you need them to do. It's the same. We've seen this over and over.
Scary stuff. But I'm going to share this link in the chat with everybody, at least here on YouTube, and I'll try to share it over on X. Because that is that's gonna. I'm sure that's gonna come out in court. But we'll have to wait and see. Yeah, I know. I don't know why a lot of people seem to do that. I don't know why they wear sunglasses like that. But he's not in court. If he was in court, he wouldn't be able to wear the sunglasses. They'd make him take them off. But just an interview, I guess they said it was okay. So he would at least go on there. And some people like to wear sunglasses because they feel like they can hide behind them. You know what I mean? It kind of gives them a separation, you know.
I never understood that stuff. It's only doing you're cool, like you're doing something funny.
I don't know. Some people do that.
Do you remember what we talked about before the show, Janet, about the Epstein thing and what I told you about that web? Mm-hmm. All right, so New York City, right? Biggest, I mean, it's the richest city in the world. Obviously, almost 50% of commerce comes through there. All the global stuff. And then the other big place they needed to do something similar to what I discussed with you was Hollywood. Because once they could take over the airwaves, the brainwashing began. I mean, even Project Mockingbird, way back in the 70s, was about Vietnam, and it was about propaganda to basically go and defend French oil companies in Vietnam. So, you know, this is nothing new, right? Nothing new at all. And they wanted the money in this country under their grasp, and there was a lot of people willing to go along with it. You know, Pelosi was involved. She was on that adrenochrome. We know she was on adrenochrome. Where did they get that? Think about it.
Well, remember,
and Paul Pelosi's lover.
Way back before the laptop disappeared, or right around the same time, there were a bunch of videos flowing around, and then that one video came out, and they said it was John Podesta with some kid that was screaming, and it was lights and stuff going on, and they were saying that he was getting. That's how they got adrenochrome. Whatever type of thing. It was lots of stuff that leaked. Then all of a sudden,
that's come out. That's come out recently. There was a video recently that they said that.
Yeah, they're doing it more and more. They're starting to put it out again because now they're not getting chastised for it. Like this is my 4th account on X, okay? Because I have been slapped down over and over again because I have for many, many years been a huge speaking out for kids, you know, being trafficked and sexually assaulted and stuff, because I've had this happen in my own family. Okay. And I hate pedophiles. I hate people that hurt children for fun. You know, I've always been against that. And I think it's wrong. And I don't care who they are. I don't care if the king, a queen, a president, a congressman, a doctor, a surgeon. I don't care who they are. If we have proof that you are hurting kids, you should go to prison and you should never get out, because you cannot fix a person who likes to have fun with little kids in that manner. You can't fix that. It's always going to be there. That means they can never be around children because they will hurt them. Period.
Yeah.
And anyone
super glue can fix a broken coffee glass cup.
Yeah.
But once you drop crystal on the floor, done.
But
and that's what pedophilia is. That's one of those. It's like drop crystal.
Any person that says that you can have sex with a kid and it doesn't hurt them, that they can be consensual is somebody that needs to just be buried. You can't fix that person. Any person with that thought process is messed up big time. But I wanted to share that because I have been watching each day the updates and everything that's going on with the Diddy case, because I really believe that if we could prosecute Diddy, if they have the evidence or whatever, and there's proof that he's done things, and the raid and everything has all these videos, and they interview all these other people that are involved, and they have evidence of it, he should be punished. I don't care who he is. Okay. And anyone else that helped him get there, if they're in the government or whatever they do, and they have evidence, they should all be put in prison. These people need to be off the street. And if it opens the door to maybe Epstein or other groups of people that have been doing things like that, they should all go to prison. I mean, let's build more prisons if we have to. I'd rather see the money go for that. Hey, Doge just saved trillions of dollars. Just take that money and build some prisons. I have no problem with that. But to me, I think it's going to start opening a few doors. I really do. And that's why I'm paying attention to it. And I do believe it when it's in court. Okay. It's in court. It's not open to where everyone can video it and stuff because it's federal. But the thing is, people are getting in every day, sitting, taking notes, coming out and giving reports. And all I can say is Cassie, the young woman who's testifying right now, very, very large, pregnant. I'm proud of her because I just went through this with a family member, a young family member, a child, basically, this last summer for abuse. And it wasn't just her. There was multiple young girls that went through this. And the sad truth, I say this every time, when you do get them to plea out, or you get them to convict them and you get them 50 years, 30 years, it's disgusting that they are given 30 years in prison, but every 5 years, all the young victims have to go back to court and beg, please don't let this guy out. Why is that? If he got
I don't, you know what I think about all of that, Janet?
The victims back in again. Go ahead. Sorry.
This is what Lord Alfred Tennyson said one time. Power corrupts. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. And here's the problem. I don't believe there's a person in this country that believes Joe Biden was our president the last 4 years. That is absolutely corrupt power. When you can have a bunch of people come in and literally unseat a quiet coup on a man who, without any ability at all to do the job, lie to the American people and drag this out, right? That what they did to Trump, for Christ's sake. If they don't put Letitia James in jail for doing the very thing they tried to charge Trump with, if they don't put her in jail, I bet you talk about 86, 87, 88,
yeah, Kobe's a fag.
90, yeah, and count the beers on the wall, pal.
I don't care. I'm on X. No, but here's the thing. January 6th was my black hole moment. I was sitting. It was very odd, Janet. It's January 6th, 2021. I was in a literally in a bunker, in a garden apartment with Danelle at the time. Also, Danelle was there, and I saw it happen. And then I saw what they were doing, and I went, "Why are they lying?" And then suddenly it clicked. Every single story, it was like you know how those bricks one brick and then everything else aligns in the back. I felt that, and I said everything clicked, all the way back. The creature from Jekyll Island, it's true. The conspiracy for Lincoln, it's true. It all clicked. Everything, I saw everything. How they constructed World War I, what they're doing. It's so. Here's the new weird theory. I can see it now. This is true. After the war, they needed to have double income so that they did what they did to get more wars coming through. Korea, Vietnam, the Cold War, all this stuff. They needed something to have us fight, but they needed us to be weak. So send people to Korea, send people to Vietnam, send your best, send your brightest. and these people would have been our leaders now. They're not. Okay, that's one phase. Second phase, okay, let's make Hollywood big. 50s, 60s, all the stuff that came out in the 60s, 70s, spy this, spy that. They're working in conjunction, doing this. All the spy gear you saw James Bond did, they're doing it. DARPA's doing it, all that stuff, all the investigation. But socially, we went from the sock hop to the mall to your house. It's like, where do you go? It's courting people over. They're going to start to convert malls to living spaces. So that's your 15-minute city right then and there. Very simple, instantaneous. Boom, it's done. But it's all connected. The same people who set up the education system, who set up the war system, who set up the entertainment system, they're all in cahoots. And then the medical system. Because again, they cured smallpox in the 80s. They need more diseases. Let's get AIDS. Let's create that. Let's create Lyme disease, which they did. Lyme disease is a bioweapon. 100% true. There's no bullshit on this, no conspiracy theory. It's true.
Can I add something real quick what you just said? Because guess what? Right before I started setting this up, and Chris was in here, I was in a space, and I was playing some music for a guy who's for his birthday. It was supposed to be like a surprise get together. And guess what he was talking about before I started playing music? That he saw some planes flying over that supposedly were putting out like chemtrails or whatever. And within half a minute after it went over, he had a tick on him.
Fuck.
Landed on him.
Tick? Bullshit.
Yeah, no, listen. He said that it was one of the ones with the dot on their back or whatever that means. And so he got it off, and he doesn't think he got bit. But guess what? He said after that happened, that night he had diarrhea. So now he's worried that.
You want to know? And here's what I have to say.
That was in Tennessee.
And here's what I have to say to you. Mm-hmm. Not you. I'm just saying it to you. It's kind of funny. I am now speaking to the universe. You, everybody here, come at me, motherfucker. I don't care. I'm done with this shit. I'm done. You will be exposed, but I'm going to live a happy life. I'm done. I have to do it now. You know that my life has been very weird in the last few years.
For sure.
Yeah. Well, basically, it's kind of funny when you think about it. 2019, the cusp of 2020. I thought 2020 would be a very I thought. Well, maybe I was right. I said 2020. I will have 2020 vision. I will see everything. I will see everything and have the knowledge. That's my goal. And I basically had a 5-year plan from 1995 on. To get there, from 2015 on to get that, because again, I was diagnosed with my condition in 2016, so it was in that time frame where I started feeling sick in 2015. Got diagnosed in 2016, but then I was still saying, I'm going to fight. So at the beginning of 2019, when my wife just suddenly dies, and then my mother, my father, and everyone's gone, I went, what the hell just happened here? And just like that. But I said, you know what? Keep on fighting. But then when that happened, in 2021, it was like, oh no. And I got so pissed. But then I got scared in a way, but in a good way, where it's like, I know what I need to do. And I'm still in that mode where I want to find out, where is my home going to be? Is it Madison? Is it here? Is it wherever? I'm still being mobile, but it's now, the time now is to stand up. They have to be arrested, do it the legal way. Because, I think you already saw the videos of Kash Patel is now going to close down the Hoover building, working on doing that, sending out the FBI agents, like he said, out into the field. We need a Elliot Ness type to go and arrest these guys, break down the doors, and expose everything. The child trafficking has to stop. The child exploitation has to stop. The exploitation of women. When you have, classically, Because again, going back to the 50s, what prominently came out in the 50s? Cosmopolitan, how to treat, they were manipulating women to, starve themselves and kill themselves with trying to look pretty and become a certain way. And they damaged so many women. And then what Hollywood did to women too, in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, you hear about the horror stories.
Don't underestimate what Elvis had to do with all of that.
I know. But then Disney, ABC, Disney, that behemoth of what they've done to women. Mm-hmm. Think about Annette Funicello. You remember the Mickey Mouse Club and all those girls that got exploited and they also were screwed up. Shit, you heard the stories of what's her name? Shirley Temple. Shirley Temple was exploited. Remember?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I heard
that. I played that one snippet of her talking about what happened to that one day with her mom and her.
Yes.
They separated them, and one went in one room,
right.
Another, and both were in the rooms. They both were tried to do something with them or whatever. And Shirley Temple said the guy come out and he exposed himself, and then she just started laughing, and he got pissed and told her to get out. Okay. So she left, and she said her mother came out and was fixing her hair or whatever. And they went down to the car, and they both looked at each other and started laughing, and they left. So it's been going on a long time. But the thing is that it's time to stop it.
Yeah, it's time to stop it.
Time to end it.
But again, Diddy is an asset. I hope Diddy doesn't get Epstein in prison. But I hope he exposes it all.
That he hasn't already, honestly.
I know, but I want him to expose everything. I want this to stop. I want people to start caring about the kids and women again.
Go listen to Cat Williams. Cat Williams he's the one who brought it out. Cat Williams, that comedian, the short guy, he's the one that started pointing the finger at Diddy, saying in public, that guy's going to go down so hard. It's unreal. That's what let me say this after what you were just saying, Ruben. I went to a small Baptist high school. And in the 70s, we had this guy come to our school that, he came to tell us that the world was going to end in 1980, which it didn't. But here was what he was telling us, right? We had Procter & Gamble's in this town. And he came in and he used their business insignia to show how they use satanic images in big business. Mm-hmm. And then he brought up that's who advertises on the soap operas. And then he went into telling us how he knew people from Hollywood. He had turned his life over and became an evangelist. But what he said was they literally had in writing in big business meetings that the agenda of soap operas in the 70s was to turn women into lesbians. Okay, now I was young and I went through a lot. I've been through a lot, right? And I had to grow up myself. But looking back at that today and seeing what you got some very high-powered Hollywood people right now who are advertising drugs that are made to treat long COVID injuries, like your enlarged heart, diabetes, and all this other stuff. And they want to sell us the cure for the poison they put in it.
Yes, exactly.
It's like
it's basically they're the government, and people that are in the government are the arsonists and the firemen, mm-hmm. which is psychotic behavior.
But why are they worried about fixing something that they already passed a law saying that you can't sue them for? So what do they care?
But again,
I wouldn't take anything from them anyway.
But again, here's the thing: laws can change. If enough people can change the law, that can change. Mm-hmm. That's the point. The point is it can change. Yeah. And for Emperor G, with the 7 words: shit, piss, fuck, cunt, cocksucker, motherfucker, and tits. So that's the 7 words. I said those. This is I looked it up in Grok.
Yeah, I know. I saw that in the chat.
So I just had, but I had to do it because that's how I roll. I don't give a shit anymore, damn it. No, I don't. I don't.
I got interviewed by a high-powered media person yesterday.
Oh, you
and
did?
They asked me, right, what do you think is going to happen, right? And so I said, well, they only gave him a pardon to 2014, and I possess documents associated with Fauci and COVID as early as 2009. And I have the financial trail where Bill Gates in 2012, I said 12, gave Moderna $16 million to create the vaccine. And then in February of 2019, before a case was even announced, he gave them another 55 million and they made the vaccines.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. And here's her response was, well, there's something, right? I mean, I'm that guy. They gave me, I don't know why, the damn job of getting to the bottom of COVID. Because I had done stuff like that before, and because I was the one bringing all the real damaged stuff in. Videos I was getting out of China and stuff. It's like, wow, this is not good.
Well, you better just make sure you stay in the closet for a while.
Yeah, but what's so
that we can take care of it. But
what's
I want to move.
interesting.
I want to move off of this stuff right now and go to the next thing that I had pulled up. I wanted to do this whole thing with the Cash Patel thing that he talked about. So I'm going to bring that up. We can talk about that other stuff here in a little bit. But I thought this was pretty interesting about, because he had said some stuff about wanting to do this before. Remember, before he finally got.
But the 48,000 when we're fully manned, which we're not. In the National Capital Region, in the 50-mile radius around Washington, D.C., there were 11,000 FBI employees. That's like a third of the workforce. A third of the crime doesn't happen here. So we're taking 1,500 of those folks and moving them out. Every state's getting a plus up. And I think when we do things like that, we inspire folks in America to become intel analysts and agents and say, we want to go work at the FBI because we want to go fight violent crime and we want to get sent out into the country to do it. And that's what we're doing in the next 3, 6, 9 months. We're going to do that hard. And, you know, I didn't know that I was going to do this, but I'm going to announce it on your show anyway. This FBI is leaving the Hoover building because this building is unsafe for our workforce. And we want the workforce.
You just gave up a big nugget.
We want the American men and women to know, if you're going to come work at the premier law enforcement agency in the world, we're going to give you a building that's commensurate with that. And that's not this place. Look,
I think that's
you know
awesome.
What that means, right?
It means that they're going to start weeding the people out and sending them to the States.
Yeah. Well, no, but the building itself is compromised.
Yeah, I know. And that's what he means. But I love the fact that look who's sitting next to him.
I know, Dan Bongino, yeah. But Bongino basically. But the fact that they said that little nugget, yeah, we're this is happening, and the thing is, this is the whole idea. Again, how'd you say it? You know, there is no greater bureaucracy as complex as the United States.
FBI is 38,000 when we're fully manned.
I didn't mean to do that.
No. As the U.S. government, but things take time, so that's why this is going to be very methodical and take time. And you're going to have the press and the left say they're going to call shots all the time. They did it with the whole tariff bullshit, and they're going to do it with the whole immigration stuff. Now they're going to do it with the whole government thing. They want us to spend more money and send more money outside. No, we're going to help Americans. We're going to help the people who need it here. Again, if they stopped foreign aid and they basically helped every company. They truly helped, like all of the Catholic charities or all of the people who are wanting to help other people and gave them the funding to help locally what they wanted to do. They did done, but they don't. And they need to do that. They need to do it. Like make it local.
Yeah,
that's what Doge is doing.
I shared that link in the chat. This is it. If you guys want to go and see that video I just shared. And I'm sure that when you go there, you can get the information you want off of that and maybe see the rest of the interview and stuff too. But I think it's getting interesting. And that's what I said. Remember I said, everyone was griping, oh, this, that, and the other, nothing's happening. It hadn't even been 100 days. Remember me saying that? Well, now it has been over 100 days. But I said before about the Epstein stuff and some other things in one of the or two of these couple shows ago, a couple months ago, back when Trump first got in, that I'm going to give him 6 to 9 months to show me something, because I honestly believe that we have to have somebody arrested for something big to have a landslide again in 2026 that we need.
Well, something big has to happen, because it's May right now. We're coming into spring.
Yeah.
You're going to have the summertime, and summertime, people are going to be doing their thing. The shows are not going to be on, so they're going to be. It's a very dead like entertainment cycle. So things are going to happen, and I know that the end of the month, throughout the next whole year, I believe since Memorial Day on, is the whole 250 celebration. So it has to be touted. And because again, there's one entity, maybe two. Well, they have to be fixed. Congress has to be fixed. They haven't done shit.
I know. I was saying that right before we started the show. I was telling Chris.
So that's what I'm saying. So all the wins that have to happen now until the election cycle begins a year from now has to be about, what Trump's doing with MAGA. It's not with the Republicans. It's with MAGA, people who came together. And you have to basically you have to start bridging the gap to people who actually want to make the things different. And again, primary all these idiots that don't want to don't want to change, don't want to help, don't want to. If they don't want to protect kids, they don't protect the border. They don't want to, help, with the homeless in a real profound way. The people that are, the disaster people, Maui people, the East Palestine, all this stuff. Help them.
Yeah,
they don't want to help
what about North
us and help
Carolina,
themselves.
in Florida? Yeah, because of the hurricanes, and then also California with the fires.
Stop enriching yourselves and help enrich people's lives.
Yeah. Well, I shared the link in the chat, so anybody wants to share that one that I just showed, just get it out of there. But this next thing I thought was pretty interesting.
Hey, Janet.
Yeah.
Janet, can I just make one comment about what Ruben said?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. So I get it about Congress. I totally get it about Congress, right? But let me just throw some facts out here that y'all can look up. Feel free to look this up as public information. 5 of the top 10 investors in BlackRock are: number 1 is Vanguard, number 2 is Pfizer, number 4 is Moderna, and number 8 is Johnson & Johnson. All of the money that was going through U.S. aid for gay rights in Africa and, gay, whatever, trans Sesame Street in Iraq and all this, right? All that money was being run by USAID and BlackRock. And what BlackRock, okay, so go back to when the vice president had BlackRock. He's still involved. His daughter left the Republican Party and tried to crucify Trump. Why? Because Trump got nominated for 7 Nobel Prizes for ending conflicts all over the country, and they make their living selling weapons.
Correct.
Right now, you bring up Ukraine. We sent them all this money, right? We sent them money and weapons, and they sent the money back to BlackRock and USAID to pay for the weapons. It's like,
money
you
laundering.
have to be kidding, right? So we got to get to the real thing about Washington that needs to be fixed. Is the people who buy these congressmen, who buy the Supreme Court, or who give them children to have sex with and film it, and then walk in their office and go,
Roberts is compromised, 100%.
Yeah,
absolutely, right. That's the problem. The problem is them. Now, after I said all that about who are in the top 5 investors in BlackRock,
right?
BlackRock has a net worth of $13 trillion. And that's about how much money we're missing from our treasury.
What is your opinion on the Convention of States calling for a 3rd constitutional Congress?
Well, here's what I wrote: a paper in 1993. And at the time I was fresh. I was doing golf course security for George Herbert Walker Bush, and my children were in elementary school. And I had already been to Bosnia and Darfur and all this other stuff. And I'm like, man, stuff's bad. Stuff's real bad. And I wrote a paper that I sent to a lot of people, and I compared what America was doing, what was going on with corruption in Washington. And I suggested that we restructure the United States under the same CONUS system the VA used, or the military base centers that we use, and divide it into 7 regions and have federal taxes go into those 7 regions, and only those 7 regions sending money to the Pentagon, which is what our government was originally. Everything we ever gave them was to protect America in the case of war. And then you ended up in this place where people got control that got they're batshit crazy, for Christ's sake.
Now, do you call me crazy?
Our children.
Now, do you call me crazy for saying they sank the Titanic?
No.
Okay, yeah. Then right next after that, they got rid of the people that didn't want it, the central bank, and then the creature from Jekyll Island was created. And if anybody out there doesn't know, shame on you. You're part of the smart people. Anyway, no, but that's the thing. But the thing is that here's where I've said this to Janet before, but I haven't told it you, Chris. But here's the thing. What do you think of the nightmare scenario I have? Things get so bad that they say, okay, let's do a golden jubilee and let's release the digital token to replace the dollar. Do you think it's going to happen? And those that don't know what a golden jubilee is, that means that they're going to basically say all your debt is gone. You'll be debt free.
That's like Nasera, something like that.
Yeah, I don't.
It's done. Again, every currency lasts about 100, 150 years, and we're at that cusp. We have spent so much money. I still can't believe it. Like 35 trillion in debt. That's just, but unfunded liabilities, which is totally off the table, is over 100 trillion.
Oh yeah. Nobody knows the real number.
No.
But if you dig, you can find information that will blow your mind about the money.
Yep.
But we still own more gold than every other country by a long shot.
Yeah,
I mean, China's second, and they're way down the list.
We have so much untapped resources.
There's your question, guys. What do you think of Nasera Gesera? Because I've heard about that many times. I just don't see how this is possible at all, simply because how are we going to get all the bankers to give up that money?
Hold on, let me look it up real quick.
All the below. You know what I'm saying? I just don't see the bankers doing that. They'll kill everyone before they stop the flow of their money.
Yeah, but they control it. They'll do it out of necessity. They have to
because that's like giving everyone that has homes. So you should run out right now and buy a giant multi-mansion or whatever, because you're going to get it for free, basically. And
you know what George Custer said right before he went towards being outnumbered 5,000 to 500? He made a joke and told his 500 men to charge into getting, slaughtered, right?
Mm-hmm.
Here's what I think. All these people that did this, that ran our country, did a coup, let 20 million people come in here and all that. Their George Custer moment was in 2021 after Biden got inaugurated. Now, all the Indians got them surrounded and we have them outnumbered, and we are fixing to kick their asses off the planet. And that's what, pride cometh before the fall. We have the names of the people who did this. We know who did it. But that people listen to all the lies in the media, all the distractions and all this other stuff. I love what Trump's doing. He doesn't pay attention to any of it. He's doing what he promised us he would do. Mm-hmm. Most of the bullshit is going on because we parrot what the media says, and they're being told what to say by people that don't give a shit about us.
Mm-hmm. I know. I bitch about this all the time. So
well, you got. I mean, so we got to do what Trump's doing. We
Mhm.
just got to do the right thing, and people either
we
will
got to support
follow
Trump.
or
And I've said that since when I prayed and I said, please God, last November on my show, I said, please God, let Trump win. And we, the people, have to help support Trump so he can be successful and pick the right people this time, because hopefully he learned his lesson from his first 2 years with a lame duck piece of shit Congress, which we have right now. We got another one,
Yeah.
and it sucks. It
Go
really
back to
sucks.
what I said just a minute ago about why they're the way they are. They're all compromised. They're either bought or
That's why, just think about it. Well, how this is going to change our country, the whole face of our country, and the way things are done. Once the Diddy stuff comes out, and then we get the Epstein stuff to come out, and some of the other stuff with Doge all starts getting released, and who was behind it, who got the money, where'd it go, blah, blah, blah. See what I mean? We get all that out. They can't be blackmailed anymore.
Yeah,
okay?
I said all along.
We
If
can
you did it,
clean
just tell
house.
everybody you did it. In America, we actually forgive people and give them another chance. I mean, look what we did for Tiger Woods, and he came back and won the Masters. There was a time if a man did something like that, you couldn't show your face in public.
Okay,
again.
I hate to say this, but some of the documentaries that I have talked about and I got my channel taken down for 2 weeks at a time, like the one that called The Eyes of the Devil, about the 4 brothels with children 10 and under in them.
Oh.
And for $500,000, you could buy a newborn baby. Okay. A man that could do that to a newborn baby until it dies. I don't care. I don't care. He doesn't deserve to be alive. That's how I
There's
feel.
no doubt about
It
that.
does.
So there is many things that I will never forgive, and I don't think
In the
anybody.
1960s, my dad had to go after a child organization that the motto was "fuck them before they're 10," and it was about men and little boys.
Oh no!
And the motto of the club was "fuck them before they're 10."
I know. Look at Mambla. That's a real organization.
Yeah.
Men Love Boy Association or whatever. Boy Love Association,
Oh,
whatever
yeah.
it is. Disgusting.
You just reminded
It's
me.
real.
You just reminded me. California's Congress passed a law today that says pedophilia. It's not a law to. What does it say? Pedophilia is not a chargeable crime.
Right.
Yeah, they passed that today. That was in Forbes News or maybe one of the.
I know, but wasn't that in California?
Yeah.
Yeah. It was either Colorado or California, because I remember
It was
somebody.
Colorado today.
It was disgusting.
I mean, California.
Yeah, see, it's
It was
disgusting.
So
California.
let's label California as a child slave state.
Yeah.
Look here. Literally, we have to do that.
What's disgusting about California is these laws that they're passing and setting things up. Droves and droves of sick pedophilia people, men and women of all nationalities, are going to flock to California for the buffet that's being set up for them for children from newborns up to 12.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
How sick.
California,
perverted is that? And I hope all the people whose kids are there are keeping their kids with them and not let them out in public at all alone, because that's all they're doing. They're setting them up for a buffet because of the government that's there wants them to be a buffet to these people. It's disgusting. But let me get the next thing I had to bring up. I thought was pretty good or interesting. So here we go. I think you guys saw this shit, right? What he did with the shells on the beach.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so I wanted to bring this up. Open it. Oh, I don't think this one opens. Yeah, it does. Okay. Basically, it's just him, and it says things are different this time around. You can't threaten Trump's life anymore and expect the intelligence agencies to look the other way. James Comey tried, and Tulsi Gabbard isn't letting it slide. So I found this, and I wanted to share that, but then I also found, so let me bring this one up now that goes with it. It's farther down. I have to pull it up. Let's see. I think it's this one. Oh, I can't read it. No, that's not it. Just give me 1 second. I'm so bad at this.
Welcome to the shit
It's
show.
really hard. I still can't do it right.
Wait a minute. But hey, Chris, but I was there in the audience when Jennifer did this.
Yeah, the first show.
And she has it. It's still the forum. She's just perfect.
Oh, here it is. I found it. Okay, here we go. Here we go. Secret Service personally escorting Comey to the D.C. office. Right here. This is what went with that. I didn't have them side by side.
See, but they shouldn't be leaking stuff like that.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, no, that's unhealthy for them to pursue.
Yeah. Right.
Okay.
Not good.
The thing is, you're not going to stop people with cameras ever. Okay, I don't care who you are. If you are anywhere where the public has a view.
Yeah, but no. But here's the thing. Okay, here's where you're both right. You're both wrong. You're both saying, well, they shouldn't do that. Yes, Chris, they shouldn't do that. And you're saying, well, that's all the time. And I'm saying, you're both right, both wrong. It's on purpose. It's the way things work. It's the show. It's the charade. It's the game. Again, remember, we're living in a Squid Game. We really are in a Squid Game, and they're betting on your life. So it's time to stop playing the game or play it your own way. I just want to
see people in court like what we're seeing right now with Diddy. That's what I want to see.
Yeah.
None of this other shit matters until
but you want the Diddy trial to have actionable aspects, to have this stopped, and to have the Epstein files released so the child trafficking gets stopped, or at least
that's what I'd like.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that's going to happen.
Right.
You know, I hope it does, because I really do believe that we need it. The people, the 77 million people that voted for Trump need something like that. But this right here, I thought you guys might get a kick out of it. I just love Scott. So I'm going to share this video. I watched it earlier and it's really good. So here we go. Enjoy.
The problem is these fucking schools don't teach American history properly in our public schools. See, I think a lot of you forget that after our worst Japanese World War II, Pearl Harbor, that of Hiroshima, eventually Japan, our worst enemy, became our ally. See, because things change. People realize that you can prosper without being an aggressive fucking asshole. Same thing with this visit from Donald Trump to Saudi Arabia. Everybody's like, oh my God, he's talking to the terrorists. He said, you need to, maybe I am a fucking genius, because years ago, I saw this man as what he is. Donald Trump is the greatest fucking chess player that ever lived, ever. Everything, whether it's this airplane now that you're all, Donald Trump could cure cancer tonight, and you fucking Trump derangement syndrome fuckers would be like, he's doing it for the money, or whatever. He's never gonna give in. And that's fine. But everything's working out for you. The economy, the stock market, everything's back to normal, everything even better. It's gonna be better. Now, this trip to Saudi Arabia, remember what I said in the beginning about Japan eventually became, yeah, some of the Saudis were involved in 9/11, and it's like, that's 25 years ago. And the beauty is, don't you want to stop more of this shit from happening? Donald Trump, this genius, is buddying up with these people. He's showing them a little bit of respect with balls, with don't fuck with me, love. And they see that. And he's a deal maker. He's a businessman, and he lets them know how life can be. Instead of, these Muslim countries, they're still walking around in the fucking blanket rags that they were wearing 4,000 years ago. Living in cave, rock. You could prosper, move along, get involved with humanity, prosper economically. And the Saudi prince sees this. That scene with them two, regardless of what you think, I listen, I'm moved by realism, by passion, realism. And when he went like this, the Saudi prince, and Donald Trump on the top of the Air Force One, he did this to him. There was such an emotion there, historical. That image is going to be spoken about for 500 years because that's going to kick off the rest of the Arab countries to say, you know what? All we do is go around blowing people up because of religion or because of it. Because he said that, stop it. Stop it. There's a life, a short window, regardless of your religion or where you're going, 72 versions, or who's going to heaven or hell or wherever. It don't matter. We know what we have right now physically. I know I got 20 maybe left, and I'm going to enjoy it. Oh, I'm going to be who I am. But that's what this man, Donald Trump, is teaching these people. And the respect that he's finally getting, that America's finally getting. We don't have to be aggressive nation builders anymore. We're not, and he sees that. Yes, there's always a dime to be made here and there, but think of the big picture, folks. Stop with the instant self-gratification that you demand. Give it time and prosperity, peace, harmony, and love will prosper in your hearts. This man gets 3.5 more years. Really? You're going to be miserable for the rest of your life? Give him the 3.5 years. Sit back. And if you don't like it at the end, then you can go mouth off again.
I love him. I'm going to copy this and put it in the chat, everybody, and I'll present it because that is something to share with people. I can't wait to share it tomorrow with my sisters because they haven't seen it yet. I just like him. I think everything we think.
Yeah.
And but he has his own unique way of saying it. But I like him. I really like what he has to say, and he's a great artist too. So go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't trust the Saudis. Correct. But again, right now, this is again. I'm not contradicting myself. I'm just saying we are tied to the fiat petrodollar, and it's tied to oil. Mm-hmm. If BRICS takes over, we're screwed. If we lose reserve currency status, we're screwed. So working with the Saudis is important. Getting OPEC off our back, drilling here, stabilize oil, stabilize it, and then because again, oil is natural. It is not there's no such thing as a fossil fuel. That's a lie. It's all natural. Okay, and petroleum products create so many different things: drugs, plastics, medications, biofuels, everything. It does so many things. We have utilized it. We utilize it to we just haven't built a refinery here. So we again doing this is and bringing back manufacturing and bringing nuclear up in the AI. It's all part of a big master plan. So we have to continue to support it, and the people are just going to be bitching about it. They're going to bitch about it. We have to stand firm in what we believe in. I think it's a good thing. But again, trust but verify with anybody. I don't trust anybody.
Yeah, I think the age of abundance is, and the big problem I think with a lot of it is we were on an oil economy. We were on a gold economy, and then we became an oil economy, in about the 70s.
Right.
And we are moving into a technology economy. And that's what Trump is over there selling. It's like, yeah, look, man, there's enough oil for everybody to go around. And yeah, we destroyed your country in World War II, but how much do we have to give you before it's enough? Your country's doing better than ours, right? Right. But what MAGA movement was about human consciousness. And it's a global event. There's the worst place to be today. There are 7 genocides going on in the world right now. You can actually look it up and see where they are. The worst place to live right now in the world is either in Darfur in West Congo or in South Africa. Well, the Chinese have gone in there, right? That nobody even knows this, but in the middle of the jungle, right about in the middle of the lower part of Africa, the Chinese have a nuclear launch facility aimed right at America.
What?
And they let the Biden administration.
Oh no! Well, that doesn't surprise me.
It's like, oh my God! What are y'all doing? The only reason I found out about it is because I donate money to African villages and donate.
What's so funny is that you realize the following: journalism didn't die; it was subverted for for the cover story or the what again the narrative. I'm sorry, the narrative is better to say it. Everything is part of the narrative now. And again, like 60 Minutes is a joke. It's not real. It's all fake. The whole Watergate thing was a setup. Everything's a setup. Everything's an operation. I'm done.
We're about, I guess, what would you say, halfway through? He's asking how much longer we're going. About half. We've gone about halfway. He's asking.
Oh,
is he going to join?
I don't know. I don't know what he didn't say.
But summoned.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't have a bullshit filter in today's world, you're lost.
Yeah, but everything. But the thing is that everything now is a bullshit filter. Everything. That's why I try and seek out truth in just us. We talk. What's going on in our lives? Be open about it, and then talk about it. It's only now about intimate relationship with one-on-one people, or larger groups. But larger groups, like your family or your friends or whatever. That's why we call it the fellowship here. That's
what that last guy just said. Is just love each other and live your life. Our life is like a match going off, right? At 65, I promise you, it's gone. I watch my children. I still remember like holding my children at the hospital. And now they're all in their 40s, and it's like, wow,
life starts speeding up very, very quickly. Because going back to my story, it's like my wife passed away in 2019. That was it feels like yesterday, but it's been a long time. It's been 6 years. And like I said, it took time to heal up and do everything, but the time heals. Not all wounds, but again, it's basically it's the process where I feel better now, and there are breakthroughs every day, and I appreciate the journey now. I appreciate the days where I'm progressing every day, and then either I hit a wall or I fall down or something happens, and I got to sit back, and it's like literally 1 step forward, 2 steps, or even 4 steps back. Like you'll fall into the gully again.
Okay, well, I'm ready to go to the next thing that I found. I thought was pretty good. So here we go. Let me click on it. It is this one. Here we go. All right. It says a recording of Joe Biden's interview with special counsel Robert Hur just dropped. And wow. Biden spent minutes rambling, unable to answer questions and not remembering anything. Now, this is why he was president, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Remember when all this was going on, we were all saying they need to get rid of him. What was there was a way to get rid of him when we were saying to do
it. 25th Amendment.
Yeah, 25th Amendment. But nobody would do it.
A recording of Joe Biden's interview with special counsel Robert Hur has just been released. Axios got its hands on about 8 minutes. We'll play some of it for you in a second. Robert Hur had been appointed counsel by the Biden Justice Department to investigate Joe Biden's mishandling of classified documents during and after his vice presidency. Classified documents were discovered in sloppily packed boxes in Joe Biden's garage next to his Corvette and inside his home office. At the same time, Biden was raiding Mar-a-Lago and mishandling classified documents. His handlers were scrambling to locate the classified documents that Biden had mishandled. Now, Biden, as VP, didn't have the constitutional authority to possess any classified documents. After Robert Hur interviewed President Joe Biden, he released a report. The report stated that Joe Biden had mishandled classified documents, but because he was a, quote, sympathetic, well-meaning elderly man with a poor memory, he declined to recommend charges. Later, the transcript of the Biden-Hur interview was released, but not the audio. Tonight, we have some of this audio. A portion where special counsel Robert Hur asks President Biden, "Where did you keep your papers?" And Biden can't answer. and then rambles incoherently about his son. Can't remember when his son died and can't remember when Trump was elected. Watch.
During this time, we were living in Chambers Road, and there were documents related to the Penn Biden Center or the Biden or the cancer for your shot or your book. Where did you keep papers that related to those things that you were actively working on?
Well, I don't know. This is what, 2017, 18, that area?
Yes, sir.
Remember, in this time frame, my son is either been deployed or is dying. And so it was, and so I hadn't at this point, even though I'm at Penn, I hadn't walked away from the idea that I might run for office again. I don't know if I ran again, I'd be running for president. And so what was happening though, one month ago dying, got amazed during his 2015 he died. It was 2015.
Yeah, I'm not sure the months are, but I think that was.
Yeah.
That's right. Mr. President.
And what's happened in the meantime is that and Trump gets elected in November of 2017, 2016. All right. So, what did 2017 here?
That's when you left office, in January of 2017.
Okay. But that's.
I'm going to pause this for a second. Can any of this, I want to ask you guys a question on the panel. Can any of this help get everything that he signed, all the executive orders and everything, all stripped, saying they could have been auto pins simply for the fact he can't even answer one question without being prodded and poked and told what to say, basically. And
well,
pushed.
They already have the auto pin information. I've seen it out there.
I know.
So that's out there. So I don't know what they're trying to do. If it's a distraction to, I don't know legally what they can do about this. Again,
the problem is it's never happened before. You're in a
Right.
situation that you have not seen before. You want to repeal it. You want to make that case. It's a slippery slope. But you'd have to come out and say with definitive proof, these are the assholes that were either manipulating Biden or bypassing him altogether and passing whatever executive order they have. Unless you were willing to give names and show proof, the problem is you can't go to the American people and say this was done without his knowledge by an auto pen. Presidents have used the auto pen since the beginning of its invention.
Yes.
Prior to that, it was not unusual to have a president's secretary sign documents for him with his knowledge. That isn't unusual. What's unusual is the sheer amount of stuff that was done, allegedly without Biden knowing. Clearly, maybe V8 wants to sponsor a vegetable, but no one else does. And that's the problem we have here, is a man who clearly doesn't know what time of day it is and is out there making decisions, allegedly, that affect not only 400 million Americans, but the rest of the world. So, yeah, you want to repeal it? And Ruben is right. Some of it has been repealed, and that some of the auto pen stuff is out there.
Mm-hmm.
But you made earlier in the night, Janet, that things need to change, that something big needs to happen, that we need to see an arrest or something. And I'm here to tell you that isn't going to happen. Because the minute you start going after them, that's going to open up a whole can of worms, because then you can go after anybody. And once Trump's out of office, the next group will go after somebody. And then the next group. And there are plenty of Republicans who don't want their dirty laundry being plastered everywhere. Because we have to remember, it's not just the other side that are the bad guys. We have plenty in our own camp. We've seen them for years.
I said the same thing. I don't care what side they're on. We need to arrest
Are
somebody.
they so Emperor, do you think that they're doing this now because they want to have some semblance of credibility now because they've been proven that they didn't cover it, and now they are now feigning that, oh yeah, we are going to be now investigating, but it's all hypocritical? Or
I think part of the problem is they've talked themselves into a corner. In 2016, leading up to it, Trump was arrest Hillary, prosecutor. Never happened. In 2020, and then in this one, it's always been the same thing. It's been the same drumbeat. We have to arrest these people. We're going to put somebody in the FBI, in the Department of Justice. Who's going to look into these things? Where are the Epstein files? Where are the JFK files? These are all things they were campaigned on. And enough people are saying, look, we're tired of you blowing smoke up our ass. Where's the arrests? Where's all this conspiracy stuff that you've been telling us? So I think they have to act now because they've been telling us for the last 12 years that they were going to do something. Well, then do it.
They did release the JFK files.
They didn't release all of them, though. Even they said they didn't release all of them. But where's the Epstein files? Weren't they handing out binders to various influencers and people? I didn't get one.
What happened? Well, yeah.
It had nothing in them.
Yeah. What happened there? I understand what happened there. It was a screw up. Whatever. I get it. But they're claiming they're still going through it. So I'm giving the benefit.
They've had it for how many years? What the hell are you still going through?
No.
That's not true. They came out earlier and said, what was it, last month? Or when Pam Bondi came out and said that they caught a bunch of FBI agents shredding.
Yeah. They still had some that weren't turned over.
And then a bunch of Doge people went in and were able to recover the stuff.
They have names.
Yes,
some names that they have verified. Give us those. I don't need you to wait to give me all of them at once. Give me the ones you have. Show that you are going to do what you've been telling us you were going to do. Trump's got more credibility than Biden, than Obama, but you know what? That goes away if you don't start following through on this stuff. I'm glad he went to the Middle East and he got some kind of deal. We'll see how that goes. That's fine. I want to see the shit that he's been telling us now for years. Because if anyone's going to do it, it's going to be him.
All right.
But let's see.
I think it's coming. I think it's coming.
You want me to finish this or not?
I'm sorry, Janet. Go ahead.
Do you want me to finish this? No. I'm saying we don't have to watch the rest of it because it's basically him mumbling through the whole thing.
We already know he mumbles. So it's up to you, Janet.
I saw him on The View. I saw that recap. There's nothing here.
Oh, my God.
So is anybody here shocked at what they're hearing? I mean, it's Fox has the scoop, but
yes, there are people. There are people that have no idea that this is how bad off he is. But I'm going to turn that off, and
that is depressing.
I'm going to. It is because I said it. I said it over and over and over again. The guy is a noodle. He doesn't know anything. The only reason he's even standing up is because they keep him injected with so much shit. He just wanders around like a zombie because that's basically what he was. And the only reason he could even do any of it was because they had so many drugs in him. And I said, one of these days he's just going to fall over dead because his body cannot handle his liver, his kidneys, all that can't handle all the drugs.
He's not dying anytime soon. God forgot he's here.
Well, Janet, let me jump in on I want to talk about sort of two different things, but just this real quick. If that man could not remember his own son's death, what is the likelihood that he knew 1,500 people he wanted to pardon? Not a chance. Somebody else came up with that list. That's all you need to know about that. But I want to go to the interview and say something really important that her should have been asking him about. Okay, now, Janet, you and I talked before the show, and I told you about the NATO treaty. NATO breaking the Glasnost Treaty and going into Ukraine. So in 2009, Ukraine, it started in 08, went to 09. They had a revolution, and it was oligarchs that were running Ukraine at the time. So finally, 2012 rolls around, and they're going to be able to have an election, right? Remember on the hot mic when Obama told Medvedev tell Putin as soon as the election is over, I'll be able to do more for him. Okay. Now, Biden wanted to be the Secretary of State, but Obama said, no, I'll give you anything else you want. He said, I want Ukraine. So he goes in and he starts all this corrupt business in the Ukraine. Okay. Well, Shokin was going to rat him out to the United States. So when he was on that thing and he said, if you don't get rid of Shokin, you're not going to get the $1 billion. He was trying to protect his family. Well, here's the thing. Shokin was the oligarch who was running for the pro-Russian. It's like their place at that time was just like America now. You got trans, you got this, you got that. It was two totally different sides. One was pro-Russian and one wanted to join the European Union. That's why I told you when Obama got hot mic'd again, where he said, I gave Biden Ukraine and he screwed it up. What Obama was doing during that time, let's talk about Medvedev and Putin. Putin had been the president for 16 years or something. The people were like, you got to get out of there. Well, Medvedev was a puppet. And Obama was learning how to run a government and never be seen. And Putin taught him. I'll tell you what broke those two down. Putin, when they had the Olympics in Moscow, said he didn't want gay people competing in the Olympics, right? Obama, who had a seat reserved right next to Putin for the opening ceremonies, sent an outspoken lesbian to sit in his seat. That's when Obama and Putin went their separate way. And that's when all the bullshit started. And Hillary was talking about, we got to do this red reset button and all that. See, I would have, just to get all that on the record, would have been asking him about all of that. And that in the end will be the tell-all that takes down USAID. It's going to take down NATO. It's going to take down BlackRock. There's going to be a lot of powerful people in America that have to answer for that, because that was violating an international treaty, and that is a war crime. And this was RICO activity. These people knew what they were doing. Right. And if you listened to the news back then and had discernment, you could see how all of that went down. Anybody can look that up. Just go to Wikipedia and type in Euro Maiden, right? It will describe every bit of the stuff I got. Literally, that stuff is on Wikipedia. And they have not prosecuted one person. And in the end, that's going to be what takes them down. That's what started it all. And,
So, Chris Phillips, why have they not prosecuted anybody? Why do you think that nothing has taken place?
Because of Epstein. Because of Diddy in Hollywood. Because the thing is,
you think Diddy and Hollywood have anything to do with Ukraine in 2009 and Putin and Obama?
That's when it all started. The whole thing. Back in last year.
You're telling me Putin was going to Diddy freak-offs? I was not aware of this.
No. Last year, Tony Blinken took $320 billion to Niger. And then he left. And then the next week, Prigozhin and Putin were there. And 2 weeks after that, they had a revolution, a military coup in that country.
Right. What does Niger produce that we would want?
No.
One thing.
Niger was getting their wheat, their food. They were starving.
Yes, I'm aware. But Niger has one thing the United States wants. It's a strategic partner we want in Africa. There's a reason we want there. Uranium. That's why there's any kind of involvement with them.
Yeah, I know all of that.
Well, I just asked you. You didn't say anything, but I'm sorry, continue.
Yeah, no, I mean, that was when he got on played on stage at the White House, and the song was about singing, right? When Prigozhin was going to Russia and Putin turned him around from Moscow, okay, that was a total cover-up. Because that plane he went down in, he was on the way to Petersburg to an embassy. And he was going to blow the whistle on all of it. He was going to blow the whistle on the uprising in Romania and what's his name? Free. Willie Free, who was the FBI director who covered up the 30 pounds of cocaine that Cliff Nussbaum got caught flying into Dulles or one of them around D.C. with 30 pounds of coke. He was so high he forgot to radio in. And Willie Freed came in and testified to all that cocaine. He was the ambassador to Romania when that uprising.
So to bring this all back to the original question, why do you think that none of this has been prosecuted?
I mean, look what they've been doing to Trump. None of it has been prosecuted because they can make the American people parrot bullshit news that doesn't
It's a Trump
have
FBI
anything
and a
to
Trump DOJ who've been in office for 5 months. And they have to know this too, right? Probably they know more than we do. But they haven't taken any action. That's what I find strange.
Yeah, no, I mean,
Well, why do you think?
That's just it, Janet. If I had any idea, I'm not sure why they wouldn't. Because what Chris is saying, I'm sure they have to know, and they probably know far more than even that.
Yeah.
But they haven't done anything.
Well, here's the reason I believe. I believe that everything is connected. That the things we've been talking about, child trafficking, drugs, dark money, is all in the European sector. It's all funneled through the Ukraine. It's in that's the bastion of everything. Burisma, everything that's been going on. That's the whole thing. And then the child trafficking thing goes through there. That's Europe is that. Sorry, Ukraine is the hub for all that. Right or wrong, good or bad, Bond villain or not, Putin is doing his part. He's doing bad stuff too. No matter, we know that. But that's a that the Ukraine thing again. Bioweapons too. You had Ukraine and you had Wuhan doing it too. We had again CIA. It's all that. So the reason why things are being very methodical is in my opinion. I told this to Janet last week. They knew Trump was going to win through their internal polling, and it was going to be overwhelming. So what they were going to do everything in their power to stop it through Hollywood, through the media, through social media, everything. It didn't work. So they started to destroy all the documents. And now what they're doing is once they got in, they're trying to recover it. So I believe what they're trying to do is recover all the data. It takes a long time because they bleach bit everything. Now they're going to try and reverse it. Elon's trying to do that stuff. So they're rapidly doing all this stuff. So unfortunately, you don't tell them that, hey, Jimmy, the courier guy is guilty when you're going after the big fish. So they have to light it all up. The Diddy trials and everything that is the news is going on right now. Look at your Twitter feed. It's all connected. Diddy in Ukraine is also connected because it's through sex trafficking. Epstein also is connected because of that. The banking, everything, all the financial, BlackRock, it's all interconnected. It's all incestuous orgy bacchanal of, it is Sodom and Gomorrah when you think about it.
If that's the case, and everything's interconnected, and everybody is involved, and everybody's buddy, if that's the case, and it very well may be, then nothing will ever get better. No one will ever get prosecuted. No swamp will ever be cleaned because there's too many people with skin in the game who don't want sunlight shined on them. If that's the case, then we shouldn't expect anything to change. No one will ever get prosecuted because somebody is involved with someone. And it's a domino effect. You get one, you get them all. Epstein kills himself, quotations. All right?
But they're going to have some sacrificial lambs. Somebody will be the scapegoat.
Well, look, Diddy's
and they're going to talk. No one's going to go down quietly.
Yeah, I know. Right now, look, Diddy is going down right now. Look what's happening to him right now. Have you guys listened to any of this stuff that's come out in the
I have.
trial? So, okay. Stuff's coming out right now about Diddy and whoever is named in this, like I played earlier, the bodyguard, and they're going to be more and more people. And they got, what's his name? That young singer, the young boy that went there,
Justin Bieber.
Yeah, he's already starting to speak. So there's other people. So people all around Diddy. So basically, Diddy has been, as soon as they went to his two homes and raided them, I said, somebody's throwing him under the bus. Remember I said that?
And do you think that Diddy's going to stay quiet?
No, but I think something's going to happen. And that's what I just said. I hope nothing does happen because I want to see other people go down because I think Diddy will definitely be singing like a bird. and sharing whatever. And I really, honestly, I do believe that there's copies somewhere else of some of the stuff he's got, because he's already threatened when he threw that tantrum in court that he's going to release.
But Diddy's an asset. He is from Central Casting, just like Tupac was, just like again, they groom these people. And then Zelensky was groomed. He's an actor who came that stuff, Tupac was this, and Tom Cruise. They're all part of the whole thing. It's all about we will influence you. You'll do that. It's the Chinese model. The public, they do this. They have this. That's how they set it up. You must be a party member. Then you must do this. You do that. They have their own version of apps out there that they have their social credit score. They do all this stuff. They think it's a wonderful system. The
what I'm hoping is going to happen, and I've been praying for, is that people are going to start realizing that the best way out of this mess is to just confess. I mean, if I felt I was in the middle of this mess now, I would come out and just say, yeah, this is what happened. This is what happened.
No one's going to confess. No one's going to conform like, yeah, I was fucking kids. Yeah, I was trafficking. Got me.
Now, what if not the nightmare scenario,
believe in God. I believe that God can influence people, and that's what I'm hoping. I'm hoping that God is going to get some of these people to realize that the only way they're ever going to get out from under this is to confess.
And I believe, as God said, that we should, anybody who wants help should help themselves. So, you know what? Let's put them on the rack. Let's go Inquisition style. You think I'm joking, but I'm not really. Let's see how much they'll talk. Don't believe that shit that torture doesn't work when it tells it's you're torturing that people will never give you the truth. Then yeah, they will.
Yes, I believe in it too. I definitely believe in it, and I wish that we could do that.
Tell you everything you want to know, boy.
Okay, but I'm ready for this next one.
They actually basically said and implemented death penalty, and then basically said, okay, we're doing it right now. Now everyone else from now on, if you commit a crime, you're proven, you're done. Crime would stop. Or dramatically decrease.
I just believe that we're going to see a wave of confessions of people.
I hope so.
Well, let's talk. Let's just for shits and giggles. The Alinsky method. Okay, there's 12 steps in the Alinsky method.
Mm-hmm.
Hillary Clinton wrote her graduate thesis on Saul Alinsky.
Right.
And he wrote a book called Rules for Radicals.
Yeah.
And if you read that book, you will see that was the game plan set up by the people who took over the Democrat Party. And it's really easy to see. Okay, I said this before the election. I bet I got thousands of people to change their votes only by pointing out to them that Donald Trump donated all of his money to Democrats. He always voted Democrat. He took over a defunct Republican Party with Democrat ideology. And if you look at the left now, they're warmongers, they're banking criminals, and all this other stuff. That the Republicans wore that hat all through the 80s and shit.
But so again,
what we have now, we have a Democrat Party. I believe this is the truth, and we have a socialist party. There's not a lot of conservatism left. I truly believe that we are in spiritual war. To answer the question, why hasn't anything been done? We are at a special time in humanity. We're switching over from petroleum to a technology world market. They're talking about global currencies and all this other stuff. All that stuff is predicted. And if you fight it, whatever. I'm with Ruben. I'm just gonna have my life and enjoy my life, which basically that other guy.
Well, you guys are old, so you don't have any more skin in the game. You're gonna die soon. You don't have to worry about it. Us young folks still got to keep fighting.
I got
what are you like?
children in their 40s and grandchildren, and I'm
like
fight.
22.
They gotta kill me.
No, you're not. The fuck.
Yeah, I'm not. They gotta kill me. But the whole thing is, my kids. But some of them are woke. What do? They brainwashed them.
I know.
Janet, well, I we'll get to your thing here in a second. I appreciate you giving me a little bit of space.
That's
All
okay.
right. Real quick, do you, any three of you, believe that Trump is a true dyed-in-the-wool conservative, the way
No,
Reagan was?
No,
I never
Okay.
believed that.
And yet we all voted for him. Why?
because he was
I
the
believed in
only
him.
choice.
No, I don't believe that. There was other choices. I just believed, just like I said many times, by watching Trump, I slowly learned to trust him.
But
Because
here's
when I first wanted to vote, wait a minute, I wanted to vote for Ben Carson. I told everybody that I liked Ben Carson. I've watched interviews with Ben Carson. I thought he would make a very good president. But then I got to see Trump talking to the men in the military at different things that he did. I paid attention to him, and I started crying when I saw this one day. And I know I told all of you this already, and everyone in the chat probably will remember it. I saw Trump walking with his wife up to some veterans, and there was a veteran there with no arms, and he had two claws, one of those metal hands, and he had his veteran hat and stuff on, and Trump walked over, and most people like Obama and a few others would just nod their head and whatever. Okay, that's it. I've seen him. I've been watching that. What does Trump do? He reaches up, and I'm going to get emotional. I do every time, and he touched the guy on his face.
Well, it's not like he could stop him.
No, but that's compassion for another person. Okay. And I haven't seen that in a long time in a person that ran for office. And that is the reason why I thought, well, this person is way more than I thought he was. And I believe in him. And after that, everything he's done, and he's tried to do everything he said, but he picks the people that he felt would do the best job. And we got a Congress that isn't going to vote to give us no taxes on Social Security and stuff. That's not Trump. That's people that are supposed to be doing a job that they're not doing. We put them in there. We put all those people in there to vote for what we asked for, and they're saying, fuck you.
That's the key right there. Because if we really wanted the conservative that we all claim, we all would have voted DeSantis. We voted Trump because of the two of them. We knew that Trump was going to do what he said because for no other reason.
DeSantis is any more conservative than Trump.
I would highly agree with that. His track record says otherwise.
Yeah. The record shows.
And it's a lengthy one. But we all voted for Trump because he is a force of nature.
Things like that. Probably high insurance on your cars, your homes, your Florida pools.
You live in a hurricane zone, hon. Of course you're going to have high insurance. It's like going to California.
I lived one in New Orleans. And
yeah,
it was 3.
How many times New Orleans been hit by a hurricane in the last 2 centuries? 3 times. How many times a hurricane hit Florida?
I know, but
5 times last year.
I'm still saying that I have relatives that live there, and it's outrageous how much they have to pay.
Okay, and that's if that's your one issue with DeSantis, that's fine. No. But you should take it up with the insurance companies, not the governor of the state. My point being, we all went ahead and get a guy who wasn't as conservative as we all would like because we knew he would get shit done. Would DeSantis have gotten stuff done? Yeah, probably, but he would have tried working through Congress. And as we've all seen, that's pointless because you're not going to get anywhere. Now, would Congress have worked better with DeSantis? Probably, because he's more of a run-of-the-mill politician.
They kiss each other's asses.
You know what? And let's go into this real quick. And Janet, I want to hear everybody's, but I want your opinion especially because I know you and I have talked about this.
Mm-hmm. What?
We mentioned that Congress won't convene. I mean, they won't work on any kind of bill. They're not passing anything of any kind of significance. You have Trump, who's passing executive orders to get things done. Mm-hmm. I hate that.
Me too.
I dislike that terribly. I don't want a king. The entire point of the country, going back to the original or to the Constitution as well as everything else, was that it was supposed to be a CEO of a company. That is what the president is supposed to be. The Congress and the Senate and the states are supposed to be doing the heavy lifting. And yet, Bush did it, Obama did it a lot, Biden did it a fuckload, and now Trump's doing it terribly. Constantly, and I hate it. I don't like it. I don't like that we have a king, and that's what Trump is right now because he doesn't have a choice. He doesn't have anything to work with. but a king just the same, a benevolent dictator, but he's Caesar. And I am very uncomfortable with that because that's it. Granted, we're getting things done. It is progress. Again, this is the very definition of what the Greeks called a benevolent dictator, back in ancient times. The problem is it's a precedent that is being set, and it's bad because the next guy coming along may not be a benevolent dictator. 2 presidencies after that, 3 presidencies after that, eventually you're going to get another Biden. You're going to get another Obama. Right. You're going to get somebody worse. And they're going to point it back. Well, Trump did it. Well, Biden did it. So I'm just going to use executive orders of whatever I want to do. They're bypassing the Congress and the Senate to the point where they are now irrelevant. The only 2 things that right now in this country that matter is the president and the judiciary who's trying to stop them.
I know.
That's
so
it.
Why isn't anybody in uproar like me constantly saying, when is the Congress going to get off their ass and do their damn job and pass the bills?
You're right, because we discussed this, but you're right. And I love the Ruben, Chris, what do you guys think? Am I off the reservation here? Is it okay that he's doing the executive orders? Do we need Congress and Senate anymore? Because it sure as hell doesn't seem like it. And I don't want to roll back 250 years of American history, and that's what we're doing.
I heard your answer in your statement. Trump is already going, well, Biden did it. But here's what the answer to a previous question. The reason we chose Trump over DeSantis is because DeSantis is a military man. He does everything by the book, and he is a politician. We picked Trump because he was willing to fight. Hell, they shot him in the head and he got up and said, fight, fight, fight. That's what American people wanted. And as best I can tell, every single executive order he has written was the narrative before this election. We want the border closed. We want this trans shit stopped. We want DEI done with. We're sick of being overregulated. He laid it out. He put a cabinet together with Democrats on it. Right? Donald Trump, whatever you want to think about Donald Trump, and you go back to his last administration, that man is a great president because you brought it up that we needed a CEO in there, right? We had a radical for 8 years. Then they tried to upend everything Trump did. Then they did a silent coup, and God knows who was in charge. And Trump is not fixing this in 4 months. It is not going to happen.
In 4 years either.
Right. Yes, but he's keeping his promises. The rest of that is up to us. We need to get good, strong people that will stand for the American voice and win elections in 2026. And every day we're not working on that. We're screwing ourselves because I promise you the Democrats are doing it. They're still lying on the media, giving false statements in Congress, and doing every single one of those other things to get stuff in the record.
Who do you blame for the current situation then? If you had to blame somebody for the reason why the Congress, the Senate are irrelevant, that the judges are stepping in, way overstepping their authority, and blocking the president from enacting what he wants, who do you blame?
I blame rules for radicals, the Alinsky method, and the people who perpetrated that on the American people, taking over the schools, taking over medicine, silencing the voice. All of those things, that's a small group of the things that are in the 12 rules for radicals. And you should look them up because I'm telling you, that's what they did. And
so that's who you're blaming for Congress and Senate not doing anything.
I'm blaming
because
most of them
they're compromised. All of them are compromised.
And that's like I said, that's why I've been praying, please God, make them realize that is this what they want to leave for their kids and their grandchildren. Please look in the mirror and say, I can't live this way anymore. I'm soulless. I'm losing everything that I was put on this planet to have.
I'm sorry, Gina, I didn't hear your original comment. Who did you blame?
I'm blaming the people that are compromised, the ones who are being blackmailed because they won't look in the mirror and look at themselves and say, I'm going to fall on my sword and confess about my sins, and so that I can save what's left of my family and my country. Those
You're
people.
talking about some of the most fundamentally evil people in the world, and you believe that any of them are going to fall on their sword out of all of a sudden, some belief that
So
I'm going to
you don't believe
show
that
my sins
evil
by.
people can become believers?
You need a lot of people to start. You know what? That's a separate. That's a separate comment.
But that's what I believe. I
Okay.
honestly believe that's the only thing that's going to save us.
Ruben, who do you blame?
In my country.
Well, I'm always pragmatic in the sense that I blame myself. Theoretically, look in the mirror. We are to blame. America, the people. We are. If you're an American, you woke up and what the hell just happened? We're to blame. We're our lack of, or disregard for the civil process, or not even teaching it. We basically don't teach our kids anymore anything. Let them run rampant. We're inundated with social media, sports, media all the times. We're just too distracted, and we don't pay attention. And then when we figure out, oh shit, something's about to happen, then we freak out. We complain about ATM fees, but not about what they're doing to us. It's just insane. We're complaining about the wrong stuff. Now, when it comes to Trump, I didn't vote for him in 2016. I voted for 2020 because he was doing a good job, wanted to continue doing it. And in 2024, it was wholeheartedly because again, it was basically he's putting together the dream team. The people that he put in the room and the people that are in the cabinet, he's doing it. But again, you are correct that he has to do it this way, and there's a high likelihood that he's going to be doing Abraham Lincoln, and what he's going to get rid of habeas corpus. That's the next critical step. It's been done, and it might happen because of what
That's
the
a hell of a precedent you don't really want to go back to.
I don't want to. I don't want
and
to.
And that was during a war, a civil war.
Yes.
That's the only reason he was able to do that.
We're in civil war now?
No, half the states have not seceded from the Union. You do not have a battle in Virginia at Bull Run. When the shooting starts and you start having states start seceding from the Union or going independent, then you have a situation that's similar. That's the only reason and the only time that habeas corpus was stopped. Now, there was something similar in the First World War for sedition, the Sedition Act. All right, but those were extraordinary circumstances.
Yeah.
And I don't know that we're there as a nation where Trump can go ahead and enact that. But Ruben, go ahead and finish your thought there before I get my comment in. Go ahead.
A former FBI director threatening to kill the president is pretty serious.
All of it irrelevant. They've already taken a shot at him. His threats means nothing because they've already done it.
Right.
We already know that it's a possibility that they're going to try and assassinate Trump. They've already tried it several times.
Already started. They killed 100,000 people a year with fentanyl for years now. They're trafficking children.
You know what?
Cops are getting shot, eating their lunch in their police car.
Now, that stuff I'll give you. The fentanyl I won't. Because you know what? When it comes down to is personal choice. Everybody from the time, at least in my generation, from the time we're 5, we're told, don't do drugs. Drugs will hurt you. Drugs will kill you. So the fentanyl thing doesn't fly with me because no one's putting a gun to your head and saying, take the fentanyl. You leave it alone, it's a problem that'll eventually solve itself.
But here's what's happening.
We're really getting far afield from the original comment.
I know, but it is somewhat interrelated because the fentanyl's being put in on purpose through China, through Mexico.
I'm sure it is.
It's on purpose. It's
warfare.
There are forces in the government that want
that
fentanyl
was my only point.
But yeah, but the thing is with the fentanyl, it's not just the fentanyl itself. They're actually putting it in, not over the counters, but other things. They're cutting it, putting in different things that kids will buy or whatever, and it can fall into wrong hands. Do stuff. They're lacing marijuana with it. They're lacing other supplements with it that people buy that they need. And again, it's just insidious. It was happening. But again, as I'm saying, and who's to blame? It's us. That's why we have to take responsibility. That's why here it is. Get your shit together. Get your family shit together. And then you have to start working on your community and your home. It's a slow process. Because if we don't do this, I don't want the summer of love to happen again with riots and bullshit like that to happen.
Oh, I do, but in reverse. And that's kind of where my point is. And Janet, I appreciate giving me a little bit of leeway here, and because I know you got something else you want to bring up.
Sorry, go ahead.
It's the who I blame. Ruben's spot on. And Janet, you made a mention to it a little bit earlier that you blame yourself. Ruben says, we're to blame. You know what? That is 100% right. Because we've been taught since we were children in social studies that we are in a representative democracy, more of a republic, where we don't have time to do things. We elect people to take care of this stuff for us. It's a very Midwest point of view where I live, which is we got shit to do. If there's a war, call us. Until then, handle it. But you know what? Today, I left my building to go to lunch. I normally don't do that. Usually I am hanging out with friends at lunch at work. And you know what? There were about a dozen protesters outside my building. None of them under the age of 60. And you know what? They were holding up various signs. And it took me a minute because I knew they didn't like Trump because there's a lot of anti-Trump stuff. But there's stuff like ICE botched the raid in Oklahoma City. And there's one about the Department of Energy. And there's one about some kind of Trump conspiracy. And they're catcalling to people, myself included, hey, come on, join us, stand up for your rights. To which I replied, I already have a job, but thank you. And they only ever show up on Friday. And you know what pissed me off? There's no counter-protesters. We never push back on any of this shit.
We don't.
Once in the blue moon, you will see a counter protest where you'll have, people like 20 people show up with, signs, or we'll get a bunch of people with flags. But by and large, 1 million people show up on the National Mall to protest whatever the fuck the thing is this week. Once in a blue moon, we'll get enough people for abortion rights and we'll get 500,000 down there.
Yeah, that'll be it.
All these protests, other than optics, which are extremely valuable, they don't do anything. These 12 people aren't going to move the needle, except for everybody else who's watching this take place. We never push back. The reason Congress and the Senate don't act is because they don't have to. They can sit on their hands, let Trump do it, and then after the fact, if things go well, they get to ride the coattails of what he did. Oh, well, we didn't have to do anything. He already had the plan. If things don't go well, they can say, well, what were we going to do? It was executive order. How could we overturn it? They get away with it because we allow them to. We don't have the time. A lot of people don't care enough to pick up the phone and call their congressman or call their senator and say, hey, I saw this in the news, or I read this in the paper, or I saw this on X. Why is this happening? Why do I have to have the president writing a command like a god emperor for something to happen? Why isn't this something you do? You keep hitting up me for money for donations anytime there's a midterm or a major election. And what do I get for my money? But we don't do that. Our side doesn't do that. We get the brakes beat off us every friggin' election cycle, regardless of what it is, at a grassroots level, because we don't do anything. Scott Presler, God bless that guy, is the only one out there who's doing anything at the ground level trying to switch things. He's one guy, and he flipped a state. Imagine what 10 of them could do, or 100 of them, but we don't do it. And I think a lot of it is, and Janet hit the nail on the head earlier when she said, I blame myself. I blame us. I blame myself too. Because I'm at a point in my life, I'm not as geriatric as you three. I still have youth on my side. I'm going to be like 23 next month. No, I'm lying. I don't care enough anymore. I am so embittered by the shit going on. I'm a Generation X guy, so we were kind of angsty to begin with. But coming into this, I don't pick the phone and call Congressman Miller. I don't pick up the phone and call Senator I almost called Moderna.
Wait, I did a search real quick. Did you know that the retention rate for a 2024 election was 97%? Nothing changed.
So what's the definition of insanity?
There
you go.
What we're doing. And again, that's why I said that.
And we're fine with it. We must be fine with it because we don't do anything. And I'll tell you something else.
But see, that's not right.
You're right. It isn't, but we allow it.
What I mean is, I try to do something every election.
We get our channels banned. We get kicked off of ads.
But I'm
Fuck
trying.
them.
That's what I'm doing.
I'm going to probably die
I'm
on
still
my
doing
front
it.
porch with my gun in my arms, protecting what little I have to keep someone from taking it from me. Because
The problem is, if you're doing that, then you know what? You're the last Byzantine emperor who's holding on to Constantinople, and you're surrounded by the Muslims in every way. I'm going to hold the walls, and that's it. That's the problem. And what I mean by this, Janet, is things we need to do. What you're doing here, this is good. It's fun. You're reaching, some people. All right. What we don't have, what we need, are people running for office. We need people going around getting, signatures. Now, for other reasons I won't go into here, that isn't something that I am legally allowed to do. But when was the last time anybody of decent substance decided to stand up and run for their city council or their mayorship or state representative or Congress? Most politics are local. You can do more for your community, for your state, than you can at a federal level, but no one does it. Why? Because nobody wants to have their entire life put under a microscope for $60,000 a year and have it run through all social media or on the news or in the paper for everything you ever said, done, or thought, and have somebody else spin it and change it. Who wants to have their life, railroaded like that?
I would run for office if I could afford to pay my bills and eat and take care of my family.
Then expect your worst things, even stuff that is innocuous or innocent, to be twisted, turned, everything, because that's the way American politics are. Good people, decent people, don't want to be dragged into the middle of it.
Right.
So we allow the same people, 97% retention apparently, to keep going. We are absolutely the reason the country is the way it is, because we have allowed it to become this way.
Let me give you a perspective on being older, and then I wanted to ask you a question. So I was in Japan during Vietnam. I was born in Georgia, but in Japan before I was out of diapers. Then I lived in Texas, and we had huge immigration problems. You had to be able to speak Spanish to even go to some parts of town. Then Watergate goes down. Then Jimmy Carter gets in, which was like Joe Biden, a little bit less steroided up. And then you had Reagan come in. What does he do? He deregulates SNL. We had a financial crisis. Then we got the Gulf War. They got NAFTA. I'm old enough to tell you that I have been through multiple wars, multiple financial crises. When I was a teenager, I used to have to wait in line to buy gas. Okay, you couldn't, nothing, right? Gas, I could go in the store with $1 and get 2 gallons of gas and a pack of cigarettes when I was a teenager. Okay, so nothing is an end all. We live in cycles. But I wanted to ask you, did you go to college, and what was the anti-Semitic status of that, or did you go to a Midwestern college, or because that's been going on a while?
I did go to college. I played baseball in college. I graduated college with several degrees. There wasn't any. There wasn't any protests. There wasn't any anti-Semitic anything. I graduated college because I stayed on for a second degree. I graduated in 2005. And there wasn't anything like this. Now, you say things go in cycles, and you're right. Here's the problem. The 80s and 90s, and I think the four of us here will agree, was the last golden age this country had. The racial shit, all the problems, and granted, your mileage may vary depending on where you are in the world, in the country during that time period. But most of the crap we have now was not a problem back then. It has been 25 years since the turn of the millennium. And I can't think of a single time in that last 25 years where one year was better than the one previous. I'm not as, I haven't gone through as much as you guys haven't. I'm not as old. In my time, I've seen 2 presidents try to be assassinated. Now, granted, I might have been a child, but still.
Right.
I've seen how many receptions. I've seen how many wars. I've seen the worst terrorist attack in the country's history. I've seen collapses. I've seen a pandemic. If things are cycling, we're in a cycle of shit, folks, because we haven't had a good one yet.
Yeah, but what I'm trying to tell you is there was no, I just did the same thing for you, and I named basically every couple of years. I lived in Dallas, Texas, when Martin Luther King was assassinated, and my father was the forensic pathologist at Southwest in Dallas. There were 11 homicides a day, and white children could not go out on the street. They were driving around with shotguns, killing white children. Okay, so I mean, I hear you and all of that. I totally hear you, but you're young, and I promise you that when you get to be our age, it's not such an emotional thing, and it's better to work on solutions than it is to talk about what the problem is. I mean, I can promise you this: when Elon bought X, that was golden, because look at what we've been able to do with free speech just to come to a place like this. I've got bullet holes. I'm a 100% disabled veteran, and I put my life on the line for people to have free speech. And if they say something I don't like, I just sit there and listen to it. Now, if what they say is criminal, that's a different story. But if they're just talking, they can be as stupid as they want to be, and I don't care. But I'm telling you, when I moved to Augusta, Georgia, I was still a teenager, and we had riots downtown. They burned downtown, and that was in the 70s.
I was
didn't
talking the
even know
80s
what
and 90s. The
racism
60s
was.
and 70s were a shit show, and I think everybody knows that. You're right.
Yeah, well, I'm just telling you, I lived through it, and I lived through the 80s. I went to Darfur and Rwanda and Bosnia, where genocide was going on. It took me years to get over the shit I saw. That was in the 90s. Okay?
Like I said, I'm talking the United States. I'm not talking outside our borders. And I'm sorry you had to see the things like that. But I'll be honest with you, Chris. I don't give a shit about Rwanda or the Tutsis or the rest of them. I don't give a shit about Sudan. I don't even care about the Ukraine. But Chris, just out of curiosity, how old do you think I am?
I thought I heard you say you were 23, but that can't be right.
Of course, I was lying out of my ass. Well, how much older do you think I am?
I mean, if you graduated in 2005, you're probably 43.
Oh, you're close. A little older than that. Enough to have been around the block enough times. So I get what I understand what you're saying. Where you talk about, well, we need to, instead of blaming people, we need to talk solutions. Here's the problem. There's no solution so far that any of us mentioned tonight that is viable. Because if it was, somebody would have done it. We would have done it.
But there is a solution, but it's a very slow solution.
That's a solution. Are you going to run for office, Ruben? Janet? Chris?
No.
As soon as I can make some money and be able to pay for my house,
the solution.
Yes, I would run for office.
OnlyFans.
Oh God, don't do that. No. But again, here's
not you, Janet. Ruben.
Oh.
I wanted to go back to the fentanyl thing a second, because I got rebutted, and I didn't get a chance to say my personal side of why that bothers me. In 2019, one of my best friends lost her daughter. 2020, on September 30th, I lost one of my nieces. And then on October 30th, I lost another niece. And 3 months after that, my dear friend lost her son. Okay, that was all because they were making fake pills in America and doing the fentanyl wrong and this and that and the other. And I am not alone. Okay, just me alone being able to say that I lost those 4 people in that short period of time. There are 57 family members who all had to suffer that same thing. So when you think about 500,000 people who have died from this fentanyl crisis, and it was a weapon and is a weapon, and 500,000 people, multiply it times 57. There's not one of us that hasn't been touched by that. So, I mean, I understand that people have to take the drugs and it's their own choice and all of that stuff.
That's correct.
But I also get what happened with crack. And I know how crack went around. And I know it was targeted at a certain group of people.
You know what? You can target it all you like. Not a day went by when I was in high school. And Chris, you have my extreme sympathies for what you've had to go through with your family and friends. All right? Nothing what I say past now changes that sympathy for you. My problem is this. They took those fentanyl pills. They had a choice. Not a day went by, and when I was in high school or in college, that I wasn't approached to take marijuana or heroin. And I was in a very nice public school. My kids still go to that public school. I take a pain med for an issue that I've had for many years. I've been on pain meds for about 11 years. Nothing extremely heavy, bad enough. Never once have I gone out and looked for fentanyl or heroin or crocodile or meth. None of the people that I know of have ever done that.
Well,
when it comes down to it, they may have taken a pill, but it's a pill they went out and found and took that they didn't need. Unless they're dying of cancer and needed fentanyl, unless they went to a pharmacy and got a bad pill from them, in which case that's an entirely different situation. It is a choice, a personal one. God gave us that ability to go ahead and make a personal choice.
Okay,
Everything
so
we've discussed tonight, from the way the government is, all the way down to this, comes down to personal choice. It is a decision
totally
that they made, and my sympathy for that ends there.
I totally
Does that
get
give the
that.
right the Chinese to flood the market? No, it doesn't. Does that give the cartels the right to bring it over? No, it doesn't. Should we stop them? Absolutely. But the responsibility starts with the mirror.
Yeah,
the end.
Yeah, right. I hear that. Now let me just say something. We had an opioid crisis that began in this country right after 2000. Then they started doing heroin, right? That's when they started doing heroin. Then, they come up with this Subutex, help you get off heroin.
Heroin's been in this country since the early 19th century.
Next thing that came up is fentanyl. Now, do you know where our special forces soldiers were in Afghanistan when we invaded?
Yes, they were in the opium fields.
That's right. Now, you're going to sit here and talk about the American people like that when the same people who jabbed us with foreign DNA from other animals and spike proteins and now are trying to sell us drugs to deal with what those stupid vaccines
You're
cause.
equating two very different things, apples and oranges.
Absolutely not. I'm a medical investigator for the federal government.
I don't care. You're equating two different scenarios and two different situations.
Absolutely not. Big pharma.
Nobody from the government, from the news, went out and told everybody, if you don't go out and get fentanyl, you're going to allow a pandemic to continue to spread.
Wait. I had a son killed by a drunk driver, and I don't even drink. Okay, we could go on with this all day long about how
what does that do with the price of tea in China?
People make their selfish choices and kill other people. The fentanyl was about profit.
Air America was running cocaine from Vietnam back in the 60s.
But here's the situation. Here's what happened. Here's what's going on. You're both correct. You're both, again, it's the same thing again. It's on purpose. They want this to happen. But here's the thing. What happened with the opioid crisis, it was manufactured by the medical industry. They pushed it. They did the methadone and all this other stuff. They did that. They pushed all this stuff.
They pushed it. Yeah.
Yeah. So then what they did was, but here's the thing, they pushed it out there so that they had the legal over-the-counter drugs are out there. And those people, and then again, yes, it's the responsibility of anybody to take it, yes or no. That's I agree with you there, Emperor. That's there. But again, what they're doing is they're making it worse. The level it's happening. It's not like a simple. It's not like here's a cigarette. No. Oh, I take it back. Like a kid, like back in the 50s or 60s. Emperor, you know this. Hey, let's go to smoke a cigarette. They got a cigarette. They're lacing cigarettes with fentanyl now. That's the thing. It's not person. That's the thing. It's not only I want fentanyl or I want this. They're doing simple stuff. Like, have my cigarette. Here, my marijuana cigarette. Have this. It's the fentanyl that people are dying from are not from hardcore. It's happening when it's being laced with fentanyl. That's what's happening. It's not. They're not seeking the fentanyl. The fentanyl is.
Let me take you back a century.
Go ahead.
Let's go back. There's a historical precedence for all this. It's been tried. A century ago, We had enough people in this country stand up and say, alcohol is the devil. It is destroying families. It is destroying our lives. It is destroying our communities, and it must be gotten rid of. And we did that. The Volstead Act. We outlawed alcohol for the exact same reasons we're all talking about fentanyl right now. The exact reasons. Because it led people to destroy their lives. It led people to destroy their families. It led people to destroy their communities. Alcoholism was rampant across the country. The temperance movement had been going on for 30 years before they finally got this. So we outlawed alcohol. What happened?
It went. Hang on. It went on longer than that. Let's just talk about opium. Period.
No. Let's answer the question first.
Hang on.
No. Hang on. I was talking. I'm giving you historical precedent where something exactly the same happens. What took place with alcohol? It was banned for what? 13, 15 years? What happened?
Nobody stopped doing it.
Enough people did. But nobody stopped. And what was the drumbeat? It was the personal responsibility. I should have the ability to drink alcohol if I want. The people try getting cigarettes. I should have the ability to smoke if I want. They repealed the Volstead Act because crime got so out of control from all the illegal running and all the money it made them that you had situations where the gangsters were more powerful than the police or the military, kind of like cartels now. And what it came down to, and what we all agreed on then, is the same thing we agree on today, which is it comes down to personal responsibility. It is not the government who's supposed to tell us these things.
Well,
you want to go ahead and block the fentanyl that from coming in? That's fine. But it still takes me to take that pill in my hand, or whatever case it comes in, or syringe, or whatever, and ingest it. It still takes the person to pick up that beer, to take that martini and drink, or get behind the wheel of a car, or become an alcoholic. It is still down to the individual person.
Yes.
All right. Yeah. So I just want to say one thing, and then maybe it'll help you. You sound so angry. The Harrison Tax Act of 1904 was an executive order that President Harrison wrote.
The Volstead Act was not unconstitutional. It was written in as an amendment. The Volstead Act was the 18th Amendment. It was absolutely was constitutional.
His wife was going to speakeasies and doing heroin and smoking weed. But the heroin crisis at that time, and the Washingtonians, who were the first anti-alcohol group, were alive and well and strong during this period. Opium came with the Chinese who built the railroads. When the Civil War broke out, they were having to amputate people's legs with hacksaws.
I'm aware.
They got the opium, right, as a humanitarian thing.
Opium at that point for Civil War soldiers was extremely rare to have. That is not what they used when amputating. You don't want to go down the road with that with me with the Civil War. That was extremely rare because it was extremely expensive and hard to find. It became far more prominent after, not even prior to the Civil War. It became far more prominent in the United States after the Civil War, because by then you had the opium wars with the English and the Chinese, and they were shipping in here by the ton. And that's when you had your opium dens, and that's when you had people getting addicted. And you know what? That was far worse than the fentanyl crisis now, because that was pure, uncut, real stuff. And yet, it never reached the level of crisis that we have today. Historically speaking, it just doesn't. If you want to talk about what they actually used for most amputations, it was alcohol. And when they couldn't get alcohol, a lot of times it was ether. Or it wasn't anything at all.
Hang on. My father was a contributing author to the Civil War medical.
I have done research and contributed to not one, not two, but 7 different books and 3 peer-reviewed articles when it comes to anything in the Civil War. 2 of them having to do with medical, not just amputations, but also the treatment of various diseases. And I did one for the Napoleonic era. Napoleon said, what was his famous quote? "Doctors will be held more responsible in heaven for the death of soldiers than any general."
Okay, just so you know.
Well, you should read my dad's book.
I would looking up something really quickly regarding what's going on.
Sure, Chris. Hang on, Ruben. Chris, what's your dad's book? I absolutely will read it. I'm a Civil War guy. What is it?
It's Civil War. It's the Civil War locations of all the bodies on the battlefields.
What was the name of the book, though?
You know what? The Civil War Medical History is the name of the book. He
Okay,
wrote
got
that book with some of the most famous doctors of the 20th century. And what the book was really about was because he was in Vietnam, and you know the wars changed, the era changed, and it actually goes all the way back to sword fights in the Middle Ages. And the book was really written to make people question, you know, if you like, it's a choice to get a sword and go out in a field. It's a choice. You know, warfare was always a choice. But when we started using bombs, little children were getting blown to smithereens for just being at the wrong place at the wrong time. And that's
Yes,
what the book
civilian
is
casualties
really
have always
about.
listed throughout history, throughout every war, from the beginning
Right.
of time since Cyrus the Great. I mean, that's just the cost of doing business. It sucks, but it happens.
Yeah, it's life is cycles. We're right back to what I said. The road to hell is paved with good intentions, friend. You know, it's not what we do in life, what we think we're doing in life is not what we do. What we do is what other people say it thinks we're doing. What it looks like to them we're doing. We're all deluded by ego and all of this stuff. You know, we all need to be compassionate to each other. And as we've all said in this thing, it's a spiritual matter. People that take drugs aren't bad, they're sick.
Ruben, you had a point, and then Janet, I think you wanted to go on.
No,
to the next segment.
I was looking up the idea that the what has happened over the last few years, several years, regarding fentanyl, that the amount of just counterfeit pills, fentanyl laced stimulants and supplements, synthetic opioids. Again, this is all planned. They're doing this on purpose. In 2020, 4% of it was tainted, and then it was up to 14% in 2021. Now, in some regions, it's up to 37% of all of the drugs that are out there. Not just illegal, just drugs have 30%, 7% are laced with fentanyl. So it's really, really bad right now. But that's on purpose. Again, they're doing this on purpose. This is like crack. But
and it very well be. The ultimate defense is if I don't take that pill, then it doesn't matter what they put in it.
True, but they're putting in other things too. That's the whole thing. They're lacing it with other things.
Okay, well, I want to step in real quick, please. All right, if you, like any kid, if you got a bunch of kids, 10-year-olds, I'll just use 10-year-olds because they're very inquisitive, and they're at the zoo, and they walk by a table, and somebody's got trinkets on it or whatever, they're all going to run over and do what? They're all going to pick something up off the table. Well, what if the table is covered with toys that have fentanyl on them? That person is already affecting those kids. But if it's there, they're going to take it. That's all I'm trying to say. If their friends have a bag and they got pills in it, the kid might take one. Doesn't
How
mean
many 10-year-olds are having access to pills?
Okay,
I'm not saying it.
Hang on.
Let's not pretend like this is happening everywhere.
The recent Halloween that just went by, we confiscated 50,000 candy boxes out of stores that were laced with fentanyl.
Can someone give me the article to that? I'd love to read that.
Google it. It was on Fox News, man.
Okay.
I'll say what I want, and if you want to prove it, then you got to find the proof. Got it. Okay, thanks, Chris. That's great precedent. Back to you, Janet.
Okay.
I just repeat what I know. You know, it was in the media. It's a fact. I mean, I have to do my own research.
Okay. Remember what happened with Bud Light, you guys?
While there have been reports and warnings about fentanyl being disguised as candy, particularly around Halloween, there is no evidence to suggest that 50,000 candy fentanyl bars have ever been found. AI overview from Google. First thing to pop up.
Yeah, what does it say about why don't you look up what it says about Joe Biden's mental acuity on there?
Okay.
What I was trying to say is,
if you believe shit on Google, you're
you told me to Google it. Oh, no, wait wait a minute. Hang on, Janet. You just told me to Google it. I asked you specifically for evidence for an article to back up your claim, which is ridiculous, that 50,000 bars were found on Halloween. And you told me Google it. Well, I did, Chris. That's the first thing that pops up. And then three other ones under that say it's all a bullshit story that was an urban legend that was passed around by ignorant people. When you make a claim and I ask for evidence, don't sit there and tell me to go to Google, because I will. And it doesn't back up what you said. Nothing on here backs up your story. Joe Biden's mental acuity on Google says that he is compromised. It was led to his election defeat in 2024. Even goes on to mention his recent thing on The View. You want to go this route? The next time you make a bullshit claim, have the evidence. And don't say, well, go ahead and Google it, because I did. And it doesn't back it up. And what do you say? Well, you can't trust everything on Google. Then which is it, man? Either I got to Google it and trust it because you won't tell me, or I do, but I can't trust what I read. This is nonsense. And this is the reason why shit like this gets in a circle, why we never accomplish anything. Because we make bullshit statements like this to try to whip everybody up, and not a bit of it is true. You've been talking about the fentanyl crisis all night. You keep saying, oh, it just killed all these people. You know what? If 50,000 bars of candy were laced with fentanyl, there would be rioting in the streets, and I'd be at the head of the mob.
That's not what I said.
Don't even try this shit with me again, or the Joe Biden stuff. Have some integrity. You're a better person than this. I've been listening to you all night. You're an intelligent, smart, and articulate man. Don't lower to yourself to the same bullshit the left does, where they make up stories, they peddle it in the media, and then they pretend it's true. Because that's exactly what you just did.
It was reported.
The next word in your mouth better be, I'm sorry.
Hey, would you interrupt me every time I try to say
because
something?
I haven't done talking. I'm making a point. You just walked yourself into the wall.
No, I didn't. I didn't walk myself into anything.
You know what? Then the conversation is done, because you cannot talk at a reasonable level. You can't be logical, and you are not being intellectually honest. I'm ready to move on to the next subject, because this one is dead as far as I'm concerned.
Fox News reported that. You can find the broadcast on YouTube if you search Fox News. Okay, now Fox News lied, but I never heard it wasn't true.
Did you ever bother to look it up? Or did you take everything from the media? Because it's weird, because we've been talking about, well, you can't take everything the media says. Did you ever look it up yourself? Did you ever verify that a story so outlandish was accurate? Very clearly not. And I don't give a shit if Fox said it. You know what? Fox said Arizona was flipped away from Trump before they were done counting the votes. You think I'm going to trust them? Fox went out of the way to try and sabotage him on 2 different elections. You think I'm going to believe everything on Fox? Where's the evidence? Where's the proof?
Yeah,
I've got 5 different articles here from 5 different places saying it's all a bullshit story. But you're going to go
get into my work.
Fine, I'm done here.
Sorry.
Okay, well, I already have something else ready to go.
Okay, well, just to close it out, there may have been a misinterpreted story. There was, in August the 4th of 2022, there was a Louisville Customs. They confiscated enough fentanyl for 50,000 lethal doses. That existed. I'll send the link in the private for about it.
Thanks.
Yep.
Law enforcement agencies, including the DEA, have issued warnings about rainbow fentanyl, brightly colored fentanyl pills. However, to date, no evidence has ever been found that anything like this has ever taken place. The situations highlight the need for vigilance, especially around Halloween, just in case. Parents and guardians are encouraged to check their children's candy and to be aware of the potential dangers for fentanyl, as well as other harmful events such as pins and needles. If you suspect candy may contain fentanyl, do not touch it and immediately notify local law enforcement. I mean, you can look at it. That the AP's got it. The DA's got it. Congressman Dan Newhouse is here. So I'm not saying they didn't find some kind of raid where they grabbed a bunch of shit, but you said 50,000 candy bars. That's not a misinterpretation. That's exactly what he said.
Candy bars. I did not say candy bars because that wasn't
Sorry,
what it
50,000 pieces of candy.
I'm
the
done
end.
arguing about this, man.
Good. Please don't, because you're wrong. You refuse to admit it. You can't even do the basic research that you demanded that I do, which is to Google it. You couldn't even take 30 seconds to do it yourself.
Okay, I'm going to start now.
Yes, Steve, thank you for having me on. I just got back to Texas from Panama, where I was watching the things down there, similar matters. And I was in the front seat of both of those aircraft yesterday from those videos. The great patriot David Cannon allows me to jump in his helicopter and his airplane every time I come to look at Colony Ridge. We've been looking at Colony Ridge for a while. We all know that it's a safe city, you might say, for illegal aliens. And it is filled with drug activity, prostitution, lots of violent crime. And the Texas law enforcement is doing nothing about it. Governor Abbott has actually taken $1.4 million from the developer of Colony Ridge, Trey Harris. And we know that I was just watching a Texas House of Representatives Homeland Security, Public Safety, and Veterans Affairs testimony before I came on with you this morning, and they opened that testimony with basically welcoming their stakeholders. This is the Texas House of Representatives stakeholders. That's World Economic Forum talk. We know that. We know that Governor Greg Abbott is a member of the World Economic Forum. He's very clear about that. He's very open about it. He's on their website. He actually is now involved. Texas is a sanctuary state. That's just what it is. They might not call it that, but it is. The only state that's really standing up to this and adhering to 287G, which is the provision, the agreement should be an agreement between states and the federal government to that law enforcement can be basically deputized at the federal level to begin mass deportations. The only state that's actually adhering to this is Florida. Texas is not doing it. Texas is de facto sanctuary state. They are not adhering to 287G. I was just looking at this this hearing actually, and the Lieutenant Colonel Jason Taylor, the Deputy Director of Law Enforcement Operations, who I'm sure will see this today, at DPS. DPS is the Department of Public Safety in Texas. That's basically Texas sort of FBI. So Lieutenant Colonel Jason Taylor is saying that the DPS does not want to adhere to 287G. 287G is the provision that it helps us mass deport people. Only Florida's doing it. I hope that President Trump sees this and will call up Texas and threaten to cut off all federal funding to the state of Texas if they keep operating like California. I mean, Texas is becoming like California because of the leadership that's been installed into these offices, like Abbott, who fooled many of my good friends in Texas for quite a while by taking the buses from the border with Mexico and busing people up to places like New York. And of course, my conservative friends were immediately happy in the beginning. And I said, be careful. He's actually inserting more of these invaders deeper into our heart. Remember, New York and Massachusetts and all those places, that's the United States too. Abbott is just clearing the banks of the Rio Grande to bring more in. Now, fast forward to 2025, it's obviously true what some of us have been saying for so long, including you. I know, Steve, I know you go after Abbott all the time, and with very good reason. Now Abbott is proving this all to be true. He's actually set up this state, Texas, as a sanctuary state.
Wow.
It's just over the top, Steve.
Michael, we got to bounce? Where do we go to get all this footage? You got Bensman's voice on this. You're up in the helicopter. This thing's pretty explosive. We've been spending a lot of time in Texas with the folks in the House, where the Democrats are now running it. Although it's a MAGA state, Trump won by 14 points, folks, and this is what you get. Where do people go to get all your content, Michael?
A Substack. I just published on this on Substack about an hour ago. I'm on Substack constantly now. I haven't put this footage up yet because we got back late. But I'll put it up later tonight. So, and obviously this is huge. Colony Ridge is just one of the places. There are a lot of law enforcement in Texas that want to defend our country. They want to defend the great state of Texas, but the leadership at DPS, Steve, as you well know, cowards are natural traitors. They're installing cowards into these leadership positions. like this guy,
Wow.
Lieutenant Colonel Jason Taylor. I mean, he's clearly on the side of letting these illegal aliens stay in the state of Texas. And I hope
Wow.
Jason Taylor sees this, Lieutenant Colonel. We're watching. Many people are watching how you behave from here out.
So had any of you guys seen that?
No.
I saw it. Yeah.
Yeah, I've been hearing a lot about that neighborhood, basically, or that area that they were building out and putting homes and stuff in it for all the people that were coming over the border, you know, and letting them.
But again, that's the example of what we've been talking about, the idea of the apathy, but it's all coming through. Because again, I'm from Texas, and I never expect this to happen, but it has happened before.
Mhm.
They've had Democratic governors, and Richards was very popular back in the 90s, and so it's their cycles that occur. So it's the freedom you have is only if you keep it. If you fight for it, if you don't fight for it, you'll lose it.
Yeah, and that's what I've been trying to say. I have relatives that are from Texas. My mother was born there, and they're 40. What do they have? 45 electoral college votes, something like that.
Yeah.
That's a lot to lose. We won't. All they need to do is take Texas or Florida, and they won't have to cheat anymore.
Right. But again, I really am very, very surprised or saddened by the number of votes that Kamala Harris actually got. I really thought she'd get half that number. I didn't think they think people would be that stupid. But, you know, people sometimes they surprise me, and sometimes they just disappoint me. They really
Well, don't underestimate the amount of people that have moved out of California that moved into Texas.
Yeah, and Florida.
And Florida.
I know. So everything's in the balance still. Excuse me.
Well, I have friends in Florida and Texas and Oklahoma and Arkansas that are realtors. And they constantly telling me somebody bought this house for $485,000 and they never saw it. They paid cash for it. They moved from California, and all they saw was a few pictures on the internet. Okay,
yeah.
And they came and they paid cash, and that's happening all the time in 4 different states, all surrounding me. And so they're coming. They're leaving because they've ruined wherever they're from, and now they're going to ruin where they're at. That's just what they do. That's what all people do. You take what you've learned, what you were raised under, and you take it with you wherever you go. And if you have enough of you, you take over.
That's why my solution, and again, it's the slowest solution. That's why I'm figuring out where my home will be, and then from there, I'm going to spread my roots and be a pillar of love, and then keep it going out from there to there to there. Because I would love to find a place where it's like, hey, there's the town square, there's the concert hall, there's the local library, blah blah blah, and just start from there. Something small town. Just start there.
Well, what I was trying to say earlier, okay, during a lot of the different discussions is that if enough people give a shit about whatever it is, whether it's their kids, their grandparents, their own self, the jobs, the amount of money that you're getting paid per hour, whatever it is, if you have enough people willing to get together and say, we're sick of this shit, we're going to do something about it, you can make a difference. Just like we said about Scott Pressler. I started watching Scott Pressler when he was just picking up garbage in a neighborhood and getting other people to help him pick up the trash. They pile it all up and have somebody come in and haul it off. Little things like that, taking back your neighborhood. Well, when it came to the Bud Light, guess what? Enough people banded together and said, fuck you, Bud Light. And what happened? Bud Light.
Well, it was easy to do because all you did was you just didn't buy their beer. But see, that's the problem, Janet, is the only time reform ever takes place, generally speaking, when you have some kind of overriding event or something that's nationwide or so egregious that it can't be ignored.
And that's where we're headed.
We a lot of things seriously. And to give you an example,
Mm-hmm.
all right, or a president almost being assassinated on national television.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Things like that. So unless you have a major event like that, a lot of times you don't get a lot of reform, and that's the problem. So we sit back, we wait for the next major thing to happen that we could have avoided if we got off our ass and did something about it.
So then, Emperor, what do you think of this scenario? So the company that owns Bud Light shorts their stock, gets this guy, it gets brownie points with the alphabet community, and then uses the data to find out where the beer was banned or boycotted, sends this information to Democratic so they can help know that that's where it's red, so they can start to infiltrate and get so they can find out votes. Everyone's sharing the data so that they can manipulate everything. Do you agree that's something that happens?
I would say this. What you're talking about is a company that is sacrificing over a third, almost 40% of their business permanently to the tune of tens of billions of dollars to tell the Democratic National Committee what they probably already know, which is we're probably not going to get a whole lot of votes in Texas or Ohio or Florida or whatever. I don't know. Is it possible? I suppose. That's a hell of a lot to pay, though, for information that isn't going to shock anybody. I mean, I read the book that they came out about Kamala Harris's campaign. They all knew internally they were going to get
destroyed,
beaten like a
they
drum.
wanted to cheat.
Yeah. So I mean, look, they didn't need all that. All they had to do was hand over all the evidence they had of, well, this is where the most Bud Light we sell is. If they really wanted to find where the conservative people were, it's a bro type of beer. It always has been. Right. To have the head of marketing come out and say, "Well, I've been hired to go and change how we look at beer." Right there is all you needed to know. I don't know that anybody would deliberately, permanently damage their company and the reputation over 80 years, 90 years, just to help the DNC with information that isn't going to move the needle and stuff nobody knows.
That's not the only reason. That's the only reason why they did it. But they did do that, in my opinion, because
they kneecap themselves for no gain. In which case, I laugh even harder.
Well, they shore their stock because in the end, it's all a BlackRock, Vanguard bullshit. They're doing this manipulation.
I know they backstop people like Disney, and they've never been quiet about that. Yeah. They've always been very upfront that, don't go ahead, make these movies that go against the societal grain. Don't worry about it because we'll make up your losses. And I know for a fact they told that to Disney because they've done that in their stock meetings or whatever, their profit sharing or whatever the hell it is. My mind's going blank. They've never been shy about saying that. I don't know about Bud Light.
They lost so much money. Like they lost so much money with like Marvel and all that stuff, or what they're doing, the message.
Billions, but up until now they've made that good. The problem is, as I'm sure you're aware, everything's finite. Nobody has unlimited amounts of money. At some point, especially if you're a shareholder of a public company, which Budweiser is, as is Disney, eventually you're going to have enough people stop and say, which is what's happened to Disney, which is, okay, now wait a minute. My stock isn't worth what it's supposed to be. You told me this movie, the Star Wars, this whatever, was going to make $1 billion, and nobody went to see it. You kept on telling us, "Oh, Rachel Zegler's the next great thing. Everyone's going to go see Snow White." Nobody saw it. Nobody saw it. The people who are in the movie didn't go see it. Nobody wants to be associated with that. That's the risk you kind of run with that kind of thing. And
but isn't that society itself fighting back against what the narrative that's going on?
Absolutely, it is, and it's the easiest way. And that's another thing too. Is you can get people to go ahead and back you on something as long as they don't actually have to do anything. Passive resistance is excellent. What? I don't have to go see Rachel Zegler in Snow White, and I get to stick it to the man. Done.
So
I just want to go see the movie.
So if the civil, well, I'm just trying to give a pivotal idea. The Civil Rights Act 65 or whatever. Where are we? Are we currently like 15 years out from that shift? If things stay the same right now, it's going to be at least 20 years, 30 years for it to change.
What do you mean by civil rights movement? What do you mean?
Meaning that, like, when the civil rights movement happened and people, the country, society changed enough. The 65, 68, around there. That's where society changed from the 50s. It was like that 18-year gap. Mm-hmm. Do you think where do you think we are in this cycle around? Are people waking up now? Because like I said, I woke up on January 6th. That's when I was black pilled. I now know the system's like this all corrupt. and I'm trying to do things on my own. But it's going to take time on my own. If I were to get married again, have kids, those kids, I would raise them like my grandparents did, or my father, and they would be generation beta, but it would be basically, no, they wouldn't be beta. They would be the next,
All right.
next generation. So we have to stick it out.
I think I know where you're going on this. Here's the problem.
Mhm.
With the civil rights movement, it was very cut and dry. African Americans in this country they're being oppressed. They've got Jim Crow laws. They're not allowed to vote. It was very clear cut to everybody that they were getting the screws put to them. And it was a very clear divide. Either those who were against it saying this is bullshit, these are citizens and people who deserve to be treated like Americans, and we're not doing it. And people on the other side that said, yeah, we know that. We don't care because we don't like them. So in the current scenario, if you're trying to make that, the problem is I don't think there's a clear-cut two sides. Because back then, again, it was African Americans specifically and their rights that they were being denied.
Right.
What is that equivalent today?
Well, you have you have the whole DEI thing. You have the people people coming up, people of color. We got to help them out. You have the reparations still talking about it right now. That hasn't come to a head. There's still people out there talking of reparations. That conversation has to happen, and it's happening now because I've heard a lot on from people who are left leaning I associate with. They're now getting inundated with the whole idea of black fatigue. People are getting sick and tired of people complaining. And it's the shift is happening. The awakening is happening. So I have some, but the reason maybe it was a bad analogy, but it was the whole idea, the fact that the society decided that, hey, we're going to do this.
Okay, you're talking about a societal shift, not specifically one to the other.
It's the back now. It's like reverse racism. It's like reverse discrimination, where you have the colleges that are like,
okay, I got you.
That's what I'm saying. We're fighting back. We're gonna level set.
Well, I think we're 10 years away from a societal shift. No, I think we're already in that. And I don't know. I see black fatigue to me, and I've seen other people use this term. To me, it's just one part of a larger whole, which is this. The last 10 years, 12 years, 15 years, if you really want to go, all right, the country's gone extremely left. We've been told you have to accept people who want to pretend that there's something else. Trans. You have to accept, gay marriage rights. Okay. You have to accept the fact that African Americans are worse off now than they were when they were in the plantations picking cotton. These are all things that you must, as a society, regardless of where you are, regardless of what you do for a living, you have to agree, because if you don't, you're worse than Stalin and Hitler's baby that they had.
Right.
You've gotten to a point now, and I think that societal change is happening. And I wouldn't equate the two. I understand where you're going with it. I would say the civil rights movement was far more important than what we're getting here. What you're seeing today is Americans like me who are in the middle, who just like, you know what, fuck this. I don't care anymore. I'm just not going to go see your movie. I'm just not going to watch your television show. Oh, let me guess. Trump's the bad guy for the third Star Wars show in a row. I'm just not going to watch it.
Right.
You know what? I'm just not going to go to Target because in the very front when I walk in is all the different bathing suits you're trying to sell. And I didn't believe it till I saw it myself, where you can tuck your wiener in if you're a 10-year-old. I'm just not going to shop there anymore, man. What you're seeing is what I call a Generation X response, which is, fuck all of you, we're just going to stay home. And I think that's where we're at now, is enough people saying, we're just not going to play the game. You go ahead and say what you like. You can go ahead and pretend that that guy right there who's wearing heels and has got a beard that makes mine look like a joke is a woman. Cool. I'm going to stay over here. I'm not going to talk to him. I'm not going to interact with him. I'm not going to go to his company. And if you call me a racist or transphobe, I don't care, man. You know what? The last 12 years, that's all I've been telling us we were anyways. What the fuck do I care? You know, and when they bring up the things like reparations for African Americans, you know what? The minute they pay reparations to the Irish first, we're the first slaves in this country, then we can have that conversation. The minute we pay reparations to the Jews, and I mean every single country they've been in that they've been picked on.
Right.
Right or wrong throughout history, that has happened. There is not one single group of people throughout history that hasn't had the boot on their neck at some point. And a lot of people, that's never going to come to fruition because no one's ever going to go with this. There's enough people in the United States who are just throwing their hands up and say, we're just not going to engage with this. And it's the easiest thing to do. Ironically enough, the exact same thing they did in the Civil Rights Movement, which is passive resistance, nonviolent resistance. I don't have to do anything. I'm just not going to play the game anymore. I was willing to be polite and use whatever pronouns you wanted because I'm a nice guy. I don't want you to feel bad. But then when you get militant about it, to me, to society, to other people, people I know, the poor lady in front of me at the grocery store, I'm not playing anymore. I'm opting out. I don't give a shit.
Yeah,
You know what? Your rights aren't being taken away because I won't call you her or madam or she. There just aren't.
Yeah.
You know what? People mispronounce my name every time I call up to make a complaint to a company, and I get, a gentleman in India or the Philippines who can't say my last name. You know what? I don't hate them for it. I don't call them a bigot because they can't pronounce an Irish name. I get it. That's a lot of letters, right? And that's what this comes down to. I don't know if I think we're already into a very soft situational or societal change. It's like the pendulum. You know what? We said earlier, Chris made a good point about cycles. History is cycles. All right. And the 70s, 60s and 70s, very liberal. 80s, most of the 90s, kind of conservative. 2000s, we went way the fuck off the reservation. Okay, well, now that pendulum's moving back towards the middle. Because ideally, that's where, as Americans, we want it to be. And we're not necessarily pushing back on it. We're not riding the streets or protesting. We're not going to call them she. We're not going to call them zer. We're just not going to do anything. And anybody can participate in that. And that's where I think we're at right now. Let them lose their billions. And if they don't figure it out, then let them go bankrupt. You think I give a shit if Disney goes under? I'm sorry, a lot of people are going to lose their jobs. But I'm not going to go and see Snow White or Lilo and Stitch or whatever godforsaken nightmare fuel abomination that even God wouldn't watch, which was the last Lion King movie. I'm just not going to.
Yeah, it's all the old stuff, basically.
Yeah, we're talking about a lot of distractions, the very things that they do to us on purpose so that we don't deal with local government, so we don't talk to people we don't like and give them a chance to see the other side of it. You know, playing devil's advocate sometimes. I mean, I just got yelled at because I said go look something up. That's me. I'm not doing shit for other people. I have to look all my stuff up. Sam Byrd was standing right next to LBJ when he signed that civil rights law. And he got hot mic'd because he turned over to Sam Byrd and said, we're going to have these niggers in our back pocket for the next 50 years. And you can find that video on YouTube. And my father was LBJ's doctor. Okay, that was a political stunt. Right? I'm telling you, anybody, listen to Mr. Sewell. Listen to some of our black congressmen who to this day, we elected a black president and then he started a race war. I mean, that's the truth. All these distractions keep you away from seeing what really happened. He had a Harvard professor come in and say, hey, you can't pull him over just because he's black. Dude, he broke the law. The next thing you know, we got cops being gunned down in the street. That's the issue that needs to be talked about, not DEI, even that whole Budweiser conversation. They interviewed the woman who was in charge of that, DEI. She had an attitude. She did not give a damn about the stockholders. She was going to make her point. They had interviews of all of that. That was no political stunt or anything. It was an asshole trying to shove that sick ideology down America's throats. Yeah, I don't care what somebody is. I will talk to anybody. I don't care. And I do talk to anybody. I was in 47 states last year. And I'm in Texas 6 months out of the year because I work out of Texas. And Texas is just like Tennessee, just like North Carolina, just like New York and everywhere else. There are pockets of radical behavior going on. Texas is a red state. And armed American officials went to that city that's being run by the cartel, and there was a gunfight. It's not like they didn't try to go in there and do something. And your boy Mayorkas intervened in that and said, leave them alone. I mean, if you follow the rules and you got the head of all of that in the presidential cabinet, which goes to sort of, yeah, we're just not going to pay attention to it. But yeah, don't pay attention to it. But we're in a fight. We're in a fight. I loved every time I heard Elon say, if we didn't turn this around, we weren't going to have a country anymore. That's a fact. And we better get to fixing all of those issues that they put us in such a vulnerable place that we're going to lose the country. These are rich people who tried to buy the country. They started wars, they did it illegally, and they did it with a silent coup by having somebody with no mental function in office. And as long as we talk about DEI and stupid commercials and speculate stuff, okay, the governor of Texas, the first bus went to the vice president's house. He was trying to make a point. At the same time that went on, there were people shooting videos in airports where 3 unmarked 737s would be unloading immigrants, and some of them had ankle bracelets on. Some of them had monitors on, GPS monitors. Okay, and what were we arguing about then? Why didn't somebody stop that? Why? And it's because we talk about all this stupid shit that doesn't mean anything. There's a lot worse stuff going on around that we've even talked about tonight. Like the cartels down there are using Stinger missiles, firing them at drones and U.S. helicopters. The president of Mexico said she didn't want our help going after gangs. Man, they're embedded deep. The moguls, the Chinese, the ABCs, the globalists, all of them. And if we don't focus on that, we will lose the country. You know, we have elections coming up. The only freedom we have is that we get to vote. And I believe it was Ben.
The only
Franklin,
perceived freedom we have is to vote.
Ben Franklin said, you know, you lose liberty when you think you don't have to fight for it. And if you think you don't have to fight for liberty, you're backing up.
Well, the reason I brought up the commercial was I was trying to basically get you to realize that if enough people stand up for something because they care enough to try to make a difference, you can, just like Scott Pressler did, and just like Scott Pressler is still trying to do. Okay, you get enough people will pay attention if you can just stay in long enough and gather enough people behind you to support you so you can get stuff done. And that's what you need. But if we had people every single election to work the polls in every single town that's needed in every state, guess what? We never would have had to bring in all these other Dominion voting machines and other machines because there was enough people there to work the polls and count them all. But because people didn't show up, didn't want to do it because, it's too much time. I don't want to do it. They're only going to pay me minimum wage, whatever the reasons why. Guess what? They said, well, it's easier if we just get machines that count it. And look where we're at now.
Yeah.
See?
I mean, we got the White House, we got the Senate, and we got the House of Representatives.
Yeah, but that was a lot of work.
Yesterday.
That was a lot of work.
About yesterday. The only way we're going to heal this is one day at a time and staying focused on solutions and get them to open up the cover-up files, because we're not going to be able to get anybody prosecuted until we get the truth revealed.
Yeah, but the truth won't be revealed if not enough people demand that it's revealed.
They're trying to reveal it as fast as they can.
I know, but
everybody wants 4 months.
I hardly hear anybody talk about it, and that's what I'm talking about. Until people get off their ass and start saying, we need to do something, we need to change this, go to your school, and demand that they take the shitty books out. Whatever your topic is, if you don't have enough people and there's only one person standing there chirping, no one listens. That's what
I know, but you hear what Generation X just said. They just don't give a shit. They're so sick of it. It's so fake. It's such a facade. All of that was part of the Alinsky method and breaking up society and dividing us into little groups.
Well, to be fair, we fought that since the 90s.
Identity politics and all this other shit. Take the children away from them. Overtake the schools. Man, I'm telling you, they weaponize government against free, liberated people. And no one wanted
only
to fight.
for the people who aren't willing to stand out here, like me and other people that try to work the polls and pass out flyers and work for people to try to get them to run for office. I helped work on Sarah Huckabee's campaign. I care. Try to make a difference in the time that I'm allotted to be able to still work and pay my bills, take care of my family. That's what I do. If more people did, we would probably be in this situation. But I'm going to go on to the next thing before we run out of time. So here's something I thought was important because we haven't talked about this yet. Right here. Here we go.
Breaking news, Saudi media just gave Trump a new title, the true president of the world. When Trump arrived at Riyadh, it wasn't just diplomacy. It looked like a coronation. He was greeted with golden sabers, white Arabian stallions, and a royal motorcade fit for a king. It was imperial treatment. Saudi outlets called it a tribute to power, something no U.S. president in history has ever received. But Trump didn't just bring symbolism. He brought $600 billion in investment deals. He brought the world's attention back to the Middle East on his terms. He signed a $142 billion defense agreement and launched a U.S.-Saudi AI alliance. Even more shocking, Trump lifted all sanctions on Syria during the visit. Meanwhile, Biden is still struggling with domestic chaos, inflation, and collapsing approval ratings. So why is Saudi Arabia backing Trump and ignoring Biden? One Saudi anchor went viral for saying Trump no longer represents a party. He represents power. And when your allies start calling someone else the real global president, that you have to ask, who really lost power?
Ta-da.
How old is that video?
It's a very weird video.
Yeah, is the way it was put together.
Yeah,
with that voiceover.
That's why
AI voiceover. But the thing is that that's what you're going to get more and more of is the AI. Okay. AI is taking over everything. They're using it for everything, for every voice. Every single time I try to make a video, it tries to make me use an AI voice to talk over it or to narrate it. It's being shoved down everybody's throats. But the thing is, I just wanted to bring up the fact that he went to Saudi Arabia and they did treat him like a king. Did any of you guys get to see any of it on the news?
I did quite a bit. You know what? Let everybody else comment before I do. Yeah.
Ruben, are you all right?
Yeah, I gotta go. I'm tired.
Yeah, you even seem like you were.
Hey, Ruben was super fun tonight.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Reach out to me here, everybody. I have a very, I don't know if you don't know about this, but I have a condition called myasthenia gravis. It's like ALS, except it's muscle, not nerve. So it gets me weak sometimes. So I get very tired. But you can follow me on X, YouTube, Substack, Rumble, and X below at Robert Haynes. I haven't been posting because it's been a very interesting, very busy last few months. I have family issues. My brother had a tumor, his brain tumor. Then out of the blue, his son has now leukemia. So it's crazy. We're just working here together, getting all this stuff done. But keep Gabriel Haynes in your prayers. I'll let you know what's going on here. But hopefully they'll get more. And he's going to get a bone marrow transplant. Hopefully, next year or whatever. Very, very soon. We'll see what happens. But take care, guys. I'll talk to you all later. Reach out to me anytime. My DMs are open. So we'll talk to you soon, guys. Take care.
Good night.
Later.
Good night. Bye.
All right, Janet, I'm ready to answer that question.
Okay.
You
should talk trash about Ruben now. He's gone. You can't stop us.
I think Trump is funny. He's really funny, right? And the Prince of Saudi Arabia hated Joe Biden, all right? He hated him. My entire life, the president has been called the leader of the world, the leader of the Western world. Been that way my whole life. And what he was, I totally understand him saying, you're the true president of the world, is a reflection on you versus the last asshole. And then he's also adding in there, yeah, you're the president of the free world. Trump has done amazing stuff in 4 months. Everybody wants it yesterday. We used to call, when I was in college in the 80s, we used to call that McDonaldization. Give it to me right now. People would have to wait a minute and a half for a hamburger and bitch. Okay, that all started in the 80s. That's worse now. Entitlement is one of the sickest mental illnesses across this country. Look at Jasmine Crockett. Okay, look at AOC. They literally tell people that they will give them anything they want, blah, blah, blah. You can do this, do that, whatever. And what they're doing is unconstitutional.
Yeah, but I'll listen to AOC because she's hot.
Yeah, well, I'm sorry to hear that.
Almost a box of hair, but yeah, she's hot. So I'll listen.
Yeah, well, I don't.
Come on, Chris, you never listened to a crazy lady just because she was hot? I know you did. We all do.
No,
Which lady?
I don't. I'll talk to anybody, right? I don't care what they look like, what color they are, what language they speak, or any of that. But what comes out of their mouth is what I judge them on. It has nothing to do. Some of the most beautiful people in the world have been the most evil, sick people on the planet.
Yeah, but they get a pass because they're hot.
No, not in my book. They don't. Beauty's not skin deep. You got to know how to look in a soul. That's what I look at, is people's souls. I've learned things from people in wheelchairs, people with mental disorders, and everything else, because I'm willing to listen to them and listen for God's voice in what they say. When you listen to wicked people, you're subjecting yourself to propaganda. I mean, I don't. Do I see her talk? Do I see what the stuff she does is? Yes, I do. And I also know what her heart is. If you talk to people in the Bronx, they hate her guts. She got elected and hasn't done a single thing for those people.
And yet they continue to reelect her, which is something of a mystery if they hated her so much.
Who are you talking about?
Alexandra Cortez. AOC.
Yeah.
But again, if she's as evil and as awful as that is, in the perspective,
but apparently, because I'm not a man, I don't see what.
She's physically very attractive. Now, as long as you don't listen to her talk, or
I'm not mistaken, there wasn't even a Republican candidate in that race. That's one of those places. Like I said, there's pockets. I live in Augusta, Georgia. I went to go vote, and we did not have any Republicans. We had 3. Okay, Rick Allen, our senator to the Congress to Washington, Donald Trump, and one person who was running for, I don't know, it was coroner, I think. Those were the 3 white people we had on our election sheet, and those were the 3 Republicans.
Alexandra
Ocasio-Cortez. There are some places where you don't even bother to run. They don't vote because they're smart. They vote because they're brainwashed. And then they get ripped off and robbed. They took $1.4 trillion infrastructure bill. Go look this up. That $1.4 trillion disappeared when we were in a lockdown. A mandated lockdown.
so did most of the money during the shovel-ready jobs that Obama promised. That's common knowledge, but nobody did anything about it. No one's up in arms. To your point, yes, she did run against a Republican, Tina Forte, in the 2024 election. She won with 69% of the vote. So again, she must not be hated that much that there's 70% of the people willing to vote for her, which is a mystery to me because I don't know of a single action she's done that has improved anybody in her district other than preventing Amazon from moving 20,000 jobs in there.
She's got a nice ass and nice tits. That's all the guys cared about.
She does.
So
and I give her credit for that.
So.
Man, I cussed my dad and a bunch of generals out one time at Fort Sam Houston and was, telling them what Pelosi was up to, right? It's my job to know that kind of stuff. And my dad, he was old as hell. It was right before he died. And he looked up at me and he goes, the only thing I know about Nancy Pelosi is she has nice tits. I said, well, what the fuck have y'all been doing?
That must have been a long time ago.
No, my
Nancy
dad
Pelosi?
My dad died in 2021, and I was talking to him about that. I believe it was in 2017, and it was about a lot of stuff. I'm not getting into it.
Okay, well, this was something I wanted to bring up earlier, and I had it out of order, so here we go. Listen.
I state without reservation that the United States federal government is the world's largest child sex trafficking organization in modern history. The probability that thousands of these UACs are being raped at this very moment is 100%. Chairman Higgins, Ranking Member Correa, Chairman Bishop, Ranking Member Ivey, and the members of the subcommittee, I appreciate the opportunity to speak about the evil of child trafficking caused by the open border policies under President Joe Biden and his administration. I served in the United States Border Patrol for 24 years until I retired as a Deputy Patrol Agent in charge in San Diego sector. I worked under 5 presidential administrations, and only one president secured the border, President Donald Trump. Border Patrol agents went from working and being supported by the greatest border president in American history to the worst, President Joe Biden. My last year in the Border Patrol was Joe Biden's first year in office. On his first day in office, I watched in disbelief as 94 executive orders cascaded down from Washington, D.C., obliterating every immigration policy that had been provided the most secure border in America's history. Border Patrol agents were forced to carry out unconstitutional orders that violated every law in the Immigration Nationality Act. President Biden, through Department of Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas, created policy out of thin air, ignored federal immigration law, and facilitated the largest mass invasion into America that the world has ever seen. The United States of America will have spent hundreds of billions of dollars in 4 years to fund the needs of over 50 million illegal aliens that populate our nation. Between 1 in 6 and 1 in 7 residents in America is an illegal alien. America has suffered the greatest demographic shift in modern history. After serving in the United States Border Patrol for 24 years, spending a year researching and writing a best-selling book entitled Invaded, The Intentional Destruction of the American Immigration System, and filming 2 documentaries, I state with complete certainty that Biden, Harris, and Mayorkas intentionally, strategically, and purposely weaponized illegal immigration and used it as a tool to fundamentally transform America. Inside this invasion, the unspoken evil of child trafficking, and more specifically, child sex trafficking, has flourished. At the end of this current administration, the number of children trafficked will have grown to over 550,000 unaccompanied alien children known as UACs. This horrific number of children will have been arrested, released into America, and then lost. To put this into context, during President Trump's last year in office, Customs and Border Protection arrested 30,557 UACs who were accounted for and not lost. Conversely, in the first year of Biden's presidency, CBP arrested 147,975 UACs, most of which are unaccompanied for and lost. In 2023, Congressional Hearings Health and Human Services Javier Becerra and Director of Office of Refugee Resettlement Robin Marcos forced to admit that their agency had no contact with over 85,000 UACs. They were lost. What did DHS, HHS, and ORR do to correct this humanitarian disaster? Nothing. In fact, all 3 agencies created further policies and procedures to increase the efficiency of moving UACs from the border to the interior of the United States to unknown and unvetted sponsors. Unaccompanied alien children were being handed off to total strangers. Then they disappeared into the darkness of labor and sex trafficking. In fact, a year later, in August of 2024, the Inspector General with oversight over DHS issued a report stating the number lost UACs was not 85,000, it was over 320,000. My business partner, Ryan Matt, and I spent 6 months traveling across America, filming a documentary titled, What is Treason Trafficked? The evil of child sex trafficking is difficult to digest and understand. However, After conducting numerous interviews with officers, agents, and whistleblowers from every alphabet agency and department, it was made clear to us that the federal government knowingly and actively facilitated these criminal acts.
Okay, the one reason why I wanted to share this is because we are in an epidemic when it comes to child trafficking and human trafficking. Even in the state of Arkansas and some of the small towns around me, I've seen arrests where they've gone in a bunch of cops all at one time to this little bitty shop that you think you'd get your toenails done at, or a massage parlor where they go in. It's supposed to be, like therapeutic massage, and they're raiding the place. And there's a bunch of Filipino girls in there or whatever, and they're getting people that have been trafficked. Okay, and that's in the state of Arkansas. So I know it's happening. But I have a few friends that work for a group called Shepherd's Watch out of Texas. And they send people in to rescue, people that are being trafficked. And then when that movie came out, I can't remember the name of it now. I just went blank because I'm so tired. I'm sorry. But something about something silence or whatever it was, about the child trafficking. What?
Silence the Lambs?
No, the one about trafficking. It came out. Freedom.
You talking about the one that just came out last year? That was
last year.
That made all that money.
Okay, yeah. That movie that came out about the trafficking. Okay, that's based on true story. Basically. Okay, all of this, I believe, is why we need this whole thing with Diddy and the Epstein thing to be opened, because our country is the #1 country in the world for trafficking, period. For boys, girls, men, women. Some of the women that were saved from the one thing here in Arkansas that I know of, because it was happening like right across the street and we were all trying to find out about it. She was 70 years old. So I don't know how many years that she was being trafficked. But the thing is, these cartels, like Trump has already said, is a terrorist organizations or whatever, what she's doing with an executive order, something else to try to save people from being trafficked. Just because they came over the border against their will and they're being sold over and over and over again here in the United States doesn't mean that we shouldn't care. Somebody wants to pay money to have them. Okay, until we get rid of the people that are purchasing young girls and boys and women for whatever purpose besides sex and torture, cleaning, running their business, their restaurant, or whatever it is, until we can get the people and arrest them, the ones who are paying the traffickers for them, it's never going to end. And that's us. Just like I said, we look in the mirror, who's looking back at you? You. What have you done to help a kid? Have you ever seen something that you thought you should call 911 and say, hey, I think I see someone that looks like they're being held against their will, or anything?
Shannon, let me play devil's advocate for a second.
Huh?
We play devil's advocate for a second.
Go ahead.
Now, you made a departure with your comment where you said you were against the sexual trafficking of kids and what have you. And then he went on to say the same thing with them, cooking, cleaning, and doing jobs.
Human trafficking. I said human trafficking and
right.
Sex trafficking.
Right.
They're both
do you
the same.
Do you buy products made in China?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Most of their labor, or a good chunk of it, is child labor, forcible labor, but you still buy from China, right?
Yeah, I guess.
Okay. So,
they're not all Chinese.
What's that?
All the victims aren't Chinese.
No, they're not. And that wasn't really the point. The point I was trying to make is, because you just said people need to do stuff, where does the outrage stop? Because we know for a fact that in countries like Vietnam, countries like China, our shoes, our iPads, our clothes, our hats, baseball gloves are made through brutal, forced child labor.
Mm-hmm.
No one seems to have a problem with that.
Well, I do. I don't buy Nikes. I don't buy a lot of things because they're made by children.
But do you look at every single product that you ever buy, especially if it's made in China, to see if it is being made?
If it's made in Africa, I don't buy it. And if it's made in China, I try not to buy it. And
Well,
stuff
then you're
like
not
that.
buying much of anything. I guess my point being, what it all comes down to is people get overwhelmed when it comes to things like this.
Mhm.
They don't know what's true. I mean, people like this gentleman is saying, we're the largest trafficker of people in the world.
Mhm.
There's been so much bullshit about so many different things that it comes down to, do you really believe that? Does the general public really believe that kind of thing?
They don't.
Probably not. Do they believe it's happening? Sure. But we don't see it. It's not something you see every day. It's not something I can drive down certain streets in Cleveland and see a very robust drug and prostitution rings.
Mhm.
They're there for the people to see. And that has an easy solution. This one doesn't. This isn't something that is widely spread, so it's very difficult for a lot of people to buy into a lot of the rhetoric, which does sound very hyperbolic when you get right down to it.
Mhm.
So you said it's up to us as people. We need to do something about it. I'm ignorant of it. I hear about these things that these happen. What is, as a common American, what can I do in my daily life to stop this? Because I buy products from China, and I'm well aware that the stuff I'm buying is probably being made by slave labor.
I'm not so much pushing that right now. What I'm talking about is here in our country, the trafficking going on in our country. And if you see, let's say you're in a restaurant at McDonald's with your kids, and you look over and you see a guy or two or three guys with a young girl or boy, and they're keeping their head down, they're not eating or whatever, and you just have a feeling that maybe there's something's not right with that kid. Okay, keep an eye on them, pay attention, watch what they do, and then when they leave, look at the car, get a description of the vehicle, and try to remember the license plate number. Because of that thought that you might have had, you could call 911 and call the sheriff's department, or not even.
If you see something, say something.
Well, yeah, I
Well,
guess.
he was on our radar the whole time. We knew that he probably had a gun. We had plenty of tips. We didn't do anything about it.
But you should never approach anyone. Should never approach anybody if you see them, because they might hurt the kid, or the kid might disappear, or even if it's a woman or man, a young man or whatever, you don't approach them. You just call the police. Just like those people that took that video following that van, and they saw a hand, they thought they saw a hand come out and pull the door shut. So they followed it, and then they called 911 and reported. And guess what? They thought it was trafficked kids, but it wasn't. It was a family who was moving,
and
they had all their kids in the back of the truck, and they shouldn't have done that anyways.
But that's what people get afraid of.
Somebody called, and because they cared. But if nobody ever makes a phone call or ever tries to do anything, then nothing changes.
And I agree. The problem is that's what people like me are afraid of. I don't know enough to make that call. So you look at it, you're like, what? Is this just some guy disciplining his child who's, being unruly? Is he just a jerk? Or is he a child sex trafficker? And that's kind of what I mean about what can the general public do? What can someone like me, junkie public do?
I will share something with you. I wish I'd pulled it up already, but I didn't. So let me pull something up. It's a flyer for Shepherd's Watch Foundation.
Yeah, I was going to say Shepherd's Watch and Angel Network are both companies it's made up of all ex-law enforcement, some active law enforcement, a lot of military. And we actually train people how to do this. And the number one rule is never act alone. Because two people talking about a situation can see through, those, we shouldn't do this. Right. And then, there's ways to do it. But that one you're fixing to put up, Shepherd Network, Shepherd is really good.
Yeah,
but there's a lot of activity going on with that. And now if you have any time or energy, please join.
Well, all I'm going to do is share her link. I'm going to share her link.
What about vigilantism?
I don't believe in that. That hurts people. Especially if you're not a professional, you could hurt yourself and hurt others that you didn't mean to hurt.
Yeah, you got to vigilantism. That's one of the things we definitely have in our rules, because vigilantism often gets the child hurt.
Oh,
yeah, because you're fixing to, if they're guilty and they get away, they will punish the child, if not kill them, and say that they warranted that attention. It's evil. Like I said, if you start going to some of our Thursday morning and Tuesday morning spaces about all this, it's horror stories.
There, I just put one of
Never
them
do any
down
of that
in the
alone,
nest.
and never call. You call the police, you get a tag number, and that's pretty much it. Unless you absolutely know, which sometimes that happens. Sometimes you just absolutely get it.
I shared it in the nest, and it's on the screen right now, shepherdwatchfoundation.org. Just go to the website and read. Pay attention. I've done a couple of little things with different organizations where I take my own kids with me and put them in my trunk and show people, to teach your kid that if you're ever thrown in a trunk, how to stay calm and how to open the trunk, to pop the lid so you can get out and run and scream so you can get away. Because most trunks are the same when it comes to the latches and the release buttons and things like that. But that's for your own kid. You don't go around throw kids in the trunk and tell them what to do or whatever. Just little things like that. And like when I was working I was a florist, we were taught to, when a child would disappear, like in the store or whatever, and you would, like, let's say you're in Target and they have the floral department over there or whatever, one of those type of stores, and then someone says they can't find their kid. Each of us were designated to go to a different door, and stay there and to watch and make sure no one left the store until we find the kid. And then two of them would go into the male and female bathrooms to make sure that someone hadn't taken the kid in there. So there's procedures to stop that if we know about it quick enough, because the faster you are, the quicker you're going to be able to save a kid. But it's rampant. It really is as bad as people think it is, but it's just not their kid, so nobody thinks about it. But all you got to do is get on your state and look at the Amber Alerts. Most of them that go missing are kids that are, being taken by the parent that's, fighting for custody. That's where
true.
most of the kids go.
That's
but
true.
Even if it's just one kid and you help one kid, that's better than none. I mean, to make an effort. And I've called 4 or 5 times, and I was wrong. I found out later on, because it was in the newspaper or whatever, that that was a parent that had taken it from the other parent. Okay, that type of thing. So you don't know, but you never know, because it only takes the one kid. You know what I mean? To save. And if it was my kid, I would hope that somebody would care enough to make a phone call to try to get my child back to me. So I don't know. That's what I wanted to bring up, because I try to always bring up something when it comes to the children, because I can't help it. I love children, and I wish every child had the chance to be a kid for as long as possible, and grow up when they're meant to, not because somebody forces their opinion on them. If you know what I'm saying. It's a sad way to say it, but I know how YouTube doesn't like to say in certain things. But plus, I don't even know what time it is.
It's about 1:30.
Yeah, it's 12:30 for me. But I just want to say thank you guys for hanging out with me tonight, and to have some really good discussions. But if we don't have discussions about what's going on around us, we're never going to get informed. Or we'll never be informed enough to do anything or make any differences.
Yeah, I just real quick, I just want to mention I got to meet all the Shepherd's Watch people at General Flynn's America First conference in Detroit last year.
Mm-hmm.
And man, those people do a lot. They do a lot. If you were going to volunteer for anybody, that's the greatest group of people you'll ever meet.
Yeah, I've already put my name in the hat for when it expands to Arkansas. So I'm gonna.
Well, they do travel around with campaign events. Hopefully, they'll be doing that for the 2026. You know.
Yeah, I think they will.
Oh, I'm pretty sure.
because they just had, what was it, 2 months ago, or was it a month ago? They were on Dr. Phil. A representative was on Dr. Phil talking about Shepherd's Watch, and they had one of the victims on there talking about what had happened to them. So, one child at a time, that's, basically all you can do. But I just want to say thank you guys for helping me out. Hope you had a good time. It was entertaining.
Yeah, it was fun tonight.
I love a little bit of sparring. Is always good for everyone. But I want to say thank you to everyone in the chat. There's like 118 people watching right now, so that's pretty good. This late, for sure. But you guys have a wonderful, wonderful weekend, and I'll talk to you guys later.
Have a good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
First off, let me convey to my family, friends, and supporters that now is not the time to gloat. We must remember that most of our left-leaning friends are good people who want the same things in life as we do, but simply think differently on how to get there. It is now time to be the bigger man, to extend an olive branch and unite all reasonable people of this great nation. God has blessed America, and together with President Trump, we will make America great again.